This is Shannon from Avenger of Blood, and you're watching Poppitt's Corner. Turn it up.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of Poppitt's Corner,
Hey.
episode 32. One of those numbers. I don't
You've
know.
already done 32, 31 of these?
Yeah, 31 or 32 of them.
Hey, question.
And,
the camera's kind of dark. Is everything okay there? Or?
Yeah, no, that's just to save on battery power.
Oh,
So,
gotcha.
because
Okay,
if
right
we're
on.
doing like a 2-hour fucking podcast,
Me
my
being a
battery
yeah.
tends to die. So
That's me being a producer. Sorry about that.
no, it's all no, dude. I'm glad that somebody pays attention. You know,
Well,
so
yeah. Awesome.
But I'd like to welcome the legendary, seriously, dude, like defining LA fucking metal. I can't think of a better person to represent like the LA spirit than Mr. Steve Gaines.
Wow, thanks. That's high
Thanks,
praise.
thanks for fucking coming
my
on the
pleasure.
show,
Let
man.
me get
I
you,
appreciate it.
Awesome. I appreciate that, but that's way too high a praise.
I don't know. See, to me, like if I ever needed info on LA metal, it's definitely Steve. Like, because you were
Because
you were
I'm
there.
old.
No. Well, that plays a part in it, but it's saying like because you were there, like you're a prime, candidate or whatever for that specific scene. So it's very nice to have you here. I really
My pleasure,
appreciate
man.
it. Pretty much the basis of the show is I'm going to go through your entire discography, and
Holy crap.
and then we can shoot the shit afterwards. And but I want to
Let's do it.
showcase on why I want to give the people a reason why you're here.
Okay.
Like why they
let's
should
go.
actually give a shit about you. This is the platform, and this is what I'm trying to showcase. So, are you ready, sir?
I am ready. Let's
All
do
right. So, talk to me about when you picked up your first instrument.
this. Oh, crap. Okay, long story. I don't know if anybody really knows this. My dad's a preacher.
Okay.
So I grew up in a church, and Mom was always the one. She would sub on piano. She would sub on organ. She would lead choirs and stuff like that when the other choir directors weren't there. All of us kids, my two sisters, my brother, who everybody knows who my brother is, of course, as well myself, we were a very, very musical family. So I must have been about age 3 or 4 when I first got into a church choir. In other words, got in front of a crowd and sang. So, and I'm 54 now, so it's 50 years of being on stage.
That's crazy.
It is. It's nuts. But you learn at that point in time that if you get on a stage, you better have something to say. Otherwise, people are just going to stare at you until you shrink and go away. There you go.
But now, what was the experience like at 4?
Oh, God, I don't remember. It was.
Oh.
I think it was probably a Christmas something or other, and you get a bunch of cute little kids from the nursery, and they get to sing some Christmas song like Jingle Bells or whatever. And it was something like that, but it was that thing of being in front of a crowd. I can still, as I'm sitting here talking about it, I can picture the expression on their faces, where I was standing in the church, people in the pews out there. It's weird. I can totally remember that.
But you can't remember the feeling you got from that specific performance?
Oh, I remember the feeling.
That's
The
what I'm
feeling
at. That's what
was-
I'm
Oh, I'm
yeah.
sorry. The feeling was, wow, hey, this is kind of cool. And it's, how come not everybody else does this? And there was that, and it was kind of like, okay, there's something here, and then it
Gradually.
that grows from there.
Now, when you picked, so what was the first instrument that you picked up? I'm sorry.
Actually, the first instrument I picked up was guitar.
Okay.
And I might have been 6, 7, 8 years old, thereabouts, somewhere where... Here's where it comes from. I'm old enough that I was alive when the Monkees were still on TV. Okay?
I watch that show all the time.
Sure.
Too.
But,
It's a great show.
it is what it is. But by the same token, this whole idea that, wow, rock and roll, look at this. That was my first introduction to it. And then my sisters, who were older than me, had Beatles records and all of that. So it was always this kind of thing to me. It's like, you watch the Monkees on TV and you see people playing guitars with those weird points on them, which I look at it now, it's a Gretsch country gentleman. How weird can it be? But you look at that and you think to yourself, this is cool. And they're making music together and people are happy. And I wonder, there's something there. You don't know that it's going to grow to anything at that point. But I wanted to play guitar. And by the time I started taking lessons at about age 7 or 8, I was terrible. And
Well, dude,
I probably
you're 7 or 8.
Right. And I
Oh,
didn't
okay.
have the discipline. I learned just enough to know where notes were and stuff like that, but I didn't have the discipline to practice. So I stopped, and then it became one of these things of, hey, every band needs a singer, and because I've been singing in church choirs, that's where that went.
Okay. So then after, I guess, picking up the guitar, right, what was kind of the first rock band outside of the Monkees that you kind of like just said, I want to be like that guy?
Here's
playing
where
guitar?
it was. My sisters, once again, brought home 2 records that changed my life. One of them was Led Zeppelin 2. And, of course, you're listening to A Whole Lot of Love. And listen to that riff, whatever, and of course all the chaos going in.
And that's the
in
first
middle.
track, like on the record, I think, right?
It is. It's the lead-off track. What was that album? 1970.
Yes.
So I'm 5 years old.
Zeppelin
at the time.
1 and Zeppelin 2, I think, came out the same year.
69 and 70. I think.
Yeah,
it is.
with like a year apart. But.
Right about there. But at any rate, so that left a shock on me. The one that got me was my sister Deborah. She brought home Black Sabbath's Master of Reality, 1971. I'm 6 years old. And the first thing I remember is the coughing at the beginning of Sweet Leaf and going into this, like, this is music like I've never heard. And the following song, which is After Forever, changed everything. There was just something about to this day, and it's funny, I'm chilling, I'm actually goosebumping right now.
I know, and it's actually really hot, so
it's getting warm. It's summertime in California. But yeah, it was Master, what do you call it? I'm sorry.
Master of Reality.
Yeah, it was After Forever, and that song changed my life. Then going through Embryo into Children of the Grave, everything in my life changed. It's like, I didn't know what a Tony Iommi was, but it's like, he's playing guitar differently than everybody, including Jimmy Page, and that's where it all went from there. It started with Black Sabbath.
I think
Led Zeppelin, then Black Sabbath.
I think everybody's story kind of starts with those two bands, though.
Why wouldn't they?
Well, especially if you're into like the heavy, extreme metal scene or whatever. Sure. They always start with Sabbath and stuff.
Right.
But okay, so after discovering these two records, right? When did you pick up the guitar? Like, when did you actually buy your first guitar? Do you remember what it was?
My first guitar ever was a Teisco Del Rey, and I bought it from a friend of mine for $25 along with an amplifier.
Now, how much would that would be? What, $100 in today's standards?
Those Teisco Del Reys go for over $1,000 now. It's amazing.
But I
They're
mean,
cheap.
$25 would be
right.
What? I don't know what that currency is like.
Truth be told, it was probably about a $100 guitar.
Okay.
To be
and that was a lot
very entry level, and of course it came with an amp too. But that was it. It's like my friend Andy Livingston. He had this guitar, and he never played it. It was there. It's like I knew everything worked. I said, "Hey man," I said, "Do you want that? You want to sell that?" He goes, "I'll sell it to you for $20." I said, "I'll give you 25," like a jackass. But I got it, and that changed everything. Then my brother, electric guitar, walked into the house, and he let me play it. And then he took off, and he ran with it. So both me and my brother just took off and started getting into rock bands. And
so rad.
That's where it started. And then having this, being surrounded by music our entire lives. I should also say, the whole family. I mean, whenever Christmas would roll around, when we were all still living at home before my sisters got married and whatever, at Christmas time, there was this thing that somehow developed where it was sing a song for your dinner. And everybody that was there had to do something. We got into these gigantic-ass productions of Christmas songs. We stopped doing it one year when everybody showed up once again doing Jingle Bells. It's like, okay, we're done with this. But it was some serious business. And that in my house growing up, you had to play music or everybody just did. In fact, my dad, my mom, both of my sisters, and of course my brother have all released albums.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, can you give me some of the groups they were in?
Sure. Well, I mean, I'm gonna minimize
that. Now I want
to
go look it up. So.
You're not going to be able to find them, unfortunately. They were records that were done through college, like my dad in a barbershop quartet.
That's so rad,
singing.
dude.
What did he sing? He sang tenor, I believe it was. And his voice jumps out. It's on check this out. It's on a 78 made out of glass. It plays from the inside out. If you drop the needle at the label, and it plays all the way out to the outside. I don't know whatever happened to that. If he still has it, if it's broken, whatever. But so Dad did records. He did a bunch of them. Mom was always playing piano on different things for, like I said, the church choirs, whatever. My sisters were in bands or church productions, or they were in. It wasn't necessarily Glee Club. It was like a high-end Glee Club at school, where they would do Broadway productions of songs. And they're singing on these things. They're taking solos. I'm going, my God, everybody's done albums. And, of course, my brother's history is everybody well knows it. And
there's a couple of questions I have on your Broham later on.
Sure, yeah, we'll get that. That's why I'm saving them. That's why
that's why we're...
Love you, Tim, but we'll talk a little later.
Yeah. So you get your first instrument, right?
Right.
Now, when did you decide, I want to actually play in a band? And what was the reasoning for it? Did you want to feel accepted? Did you want to just play music because your family was just playing music, or?
Okay, I can actually steer back to before the guitar. I can recall as a youngster, we go on family vacations, whatever. I would actually sit down, bored, because kids get bored real quick. There's nothing on TV. You can't go to the beach or whatever the hell. So I'm sitting there and I'm actually putting together music started running through my head. I actually started placing songs together. I one day would love to record all of those because now that I know what I think I know what I'm doing. All those original early songs.
You might need a couple more years, Steve.
Right, like 3 or 4 or 5 of them or whatever. So we were writing those. I was sitting there just putting songs together, writing them. I mean, I can actually still hear the music. I can still hear the melody, the lyrics, everything. Mm-hmm. What had happened with me, I didn't necessarily have to play guitar. I didn't have to sing. I wrote. And that's what it was for me. You can't, there's some people I think that get into bands because they want to be accepted. For me, it wasn't that. It's like, I got all this shit going on in my head. I've got to get this out somehow.
So you needed a creative outlet
yes.
kind of thing.
Yes.
Like how people like to draw. You needed that
right.
kind of that same thing.
And very early on, it was writing music and lyrics. And that's where it comes from. It's a sickness.
But it's a good kind of sickness. I mean, it's better than doing a bunch of drugs and alcohol to have to feel like you need to fill a void or whatever. You have music, so it's like completely. I mean, it's like a healthier kind of way, right? You don't have to have alcohol to fucking feel that same fucking high.
No, absolutely not. In fact, I haven't had a drink in almost Jesus Christ. Since 1991.
I know we were talking about the year I was born, so pretty much.
You got it. So as long as you've been alive, I haven't had something to drink.
That's crazy.
Water, coffee.
It's crazy. But so what was the first I guess musical endeavor that you did with your friends, or was it during high school or
elementary school even?
Wow.
My buddy Andy, the same guy, the guy that sold me the guitar. He started getting into drums. That's why he gave up on the guitar, and he wanted to be a drummer. He had this thing of it might have been Kiss that he saw, I don't know, or something. But same thing. He had older sisters, and they had all the rock records, so we were just inundated with this stuff. He wanted to play drums, and he ended up getting this Premier. Set of Premier drums. Keith Moon plays them, dude, so these are great, But of course, and so immediately I had a guitar, and of course I had upgraded, gotten a better guitar, better amp by that point in time. We'd get together and try and play songs, and they were terrible, but that was it. And people would be coming over. They'd be hanging out in his jam room, and we'd be playing these songs. We were terrible. It was like that episode of, what the hell is this? Kevin Arnold. What's the show called?
Kevin Arnold.
From the 60s.
No.
Growing Pains. No, not Growing Pains.
Kevin, not Roseanne.
What? Help me here.
No. Kevin Arnold. Wasn't that from fucking Wonder Years?
Wonder Years. There you go. Thank you. Yeah,
okay.
It was like that episode
60s.
when
it was based in the 60s, but I don't think it's a 60s TV show.
It's not, but
I always thought it was, but it's not.
It's based in the 60s.
Based
in the 60s, and there's an episode where there's some guy at school that shows him. If anybody's ever heard this, look up the episode where Kevin Arnold plays guitar for the first time. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
I've never seen it.
Dude, look it up on YouTube, and it's like a window into your life. It's exactly what it is. Older guy has a Strat, right?
Right.
Brings Kevin over to his house, puts his hand in position to play an A bar chord. Now strum it. Bang, and he hits that note, and it's like you hear angels sing and the spotlight's going. It's one of the greatest things you've ever seen.
It's like a euphoric fucking feeling.
Exactly. And it documents this whole thing about getting into a band and blah, blah, blah. And it was very much that. So we would have people come over. They were terrible. They'd get bored. But, start realizing, I'm creating this. I don't want to play songs by Black Sabbath or The Who or whomever.
It's a good starting point, but it's not the end point.
Yeah, and then there's more and more the creative stuff happens, and you start getting into bands and you start playing. The first real serious band, believe it or not, after playing with a bunch of kids in school and whatever, was a band called Rampage.
Okay.
This was 1979, and the band members, give you a window in time here. The band members were consisted of Chris Moore, who plays drums, who's just done the he's still in the process of touring right now with the I can't think of the name of the movie. Chris, I'm sorry, I'm fading here, but fantastic drummer. He later came in and played with Bloodlust for a little while. But it's a big production. There was a movie a couple years ago.
Oh, you're talking the teacher that
crap, what's it called?
The guy from the State Farm commercials. That's like the drummer.
Doggone it, man! I can't remember to save my life, and I'm fading here, Chris. If I'm gonna when I see this posted, I'm gonna actually give you the plug, so that we can actually hype the project you're in. But anyway, Chris Moore playing drums, and the bass player was a guy named Dennis Soboleski. Now, Dennis Soboleski is best known as Michael Anthony's youngest brother.
Wow!
So immediately, here I am at what I'm at the age. I'm 14 at the time, and you're going from playing in bedrooms to all of a sudden you're listening to Van Halen do albums. And talk about level jumping that quick. That's why Women and Children First, because they were working on the Women and Children.
I love that album.
Fantastic record. I've heard every version of that, from drum tracks and scratch guitar and all of that, which most of that scratch guitar is still there. But hearing, this is how albums are built, and then lyrics laid over, then very little overdubs, but that whole thing put together. I can tell you how songs were chopped up and in different arrangement. But Women and Children First, that was around that point in time. So
that was 1980, dude.
1980, yeah, but they're putting this together in the tail end of 79, beginning of 80. And wow, my God, what an amazing thing.
I love that record, man.
It's my favorite Van Halen record, probably because of getting to hear it being done, but also look at the songs, for Christ's sake. So you're going from starting to all of a sudden, this is what the big time does. And then you're starting to be, through Dennis, I became aware of a band called the Scorpions, who had just released Tokyo tapes the year before. Love Drive wasn't even out yet.
Right.
So 1978, and then my brother at the same time, and this ties into the early Priest band that I'm into, played with a guy in our garage. He played with different people. One band he played with was a band called Visions, which had Rocky Rockwell, who's the guitar player for Tyrant.
Okay.
Okay, they're playing in our garage.
Is it the Tyrant that was on Metal Massacre?
Metal Massacre and Metal Blade, yeah.
Okay.
The May brothers, Rocky Rockwell, and who was the drummer? Rob Roy, I guess it was. Yeah, Rob. So at any rate, and we played with them in Germany a few years back. That was hilarious, man. We had such a great time with those guys because we were reminiscing what it was like to grow up in the San Gabriel Valley in the 70s. So
you kind of need to have those conversations again with people. Like,
it's funny.
Good to reminisce, right?
I don't want to get off track here, but I got to tell the story while it's.
You have to get off track. That's what the show's about.
That's what it's all about. So we're playing. Abattoir's playing the Keep It True Festival in 2009. It's already 10 years ago. My gosh.
So this was the reunion.
Correct. Yeah,
Correct.
This is the one. So we're over in Europe, and we know that a bunch of bands from LA are playing. And the bands are Ruthless is one of them.
Uh-huh.
Tyrant is another one of them. God dang it, there's at least one more. But the other co-headlining band the night we played was Lizzie Borden. Now, this ties into the Metal Blade. All those bands had a Metal Blade tie-in, including... I love Lizzie Borden. I think it's a great band. They are a great band. But they got the lion's share of attention from Metal Blade Records. So there was a lot of tension back in the day. And when we all got together over in Europe, immediately it's like, come on, bygones are bygones, let's all be pals. But the tension was immediately there with the Lizzie Borden guys. They put us all in one big dressing room. They took over one section and closed the door. So it was funny because right off the bat, here we are again. We're all kids along Rosemead Boulevard, and we're all yelling and screaming at the assholes from the other side of the town. Some things just never change. Lizzie Borden was fantastic that night. They really were. But it was just funny how that tension still remains. It does. Anyway, back to what we were talking about.
Though. Yeah. It really shouldn't.
It shouldn't. So much has gone, so much water under the bridge. And I like the fact that everybody can get along now as opposed to being competitive. You want to be competitive. You want to be better than the other bands. But not
if you can hold your own.
Right.
And that you could be competitive like on the stage performance wise or whatever.
Right.
But if you can hold your own, like musically speaking, you have no reason to be competitive anymore because it's like, yeah, I know my shit's good.
Yeah.
And your shit's good too.
Yeah.
And
it should be just that. And it should be fantastic. But I'm talking about the way it was competitive back in the day when people used to put slits in the snare drum head so that drummer plays halfway through a song, all of a sudden his head pops and gone, can't finish the song. Loosening up the fuses on the back of amplifiers.
Do you think the internet's kind of fixed that problem?
I think people just stop being dicks.
Well, yeah, but the internet kind of exposed that.
No, I don't know if they really did or not because there are still bands that will do that kind of crap. But loosen up a fuse. Mm-hmm. So you play a little bit, and if the amp gets bumped around just enough or vibrates enough, that fuse pops out the back, and not just pops out, but shoots across the stage, so a guitar player can't finish the song or the set. It's terrible. That's competitive. That's what I'm used to. I'm used to Sabotage.
Oh,
there was one band,
too.
and you'll see
Sabotage.
You'll see why it has to be nameless. I'm not going to name names, but there was a friend of mine who was opening up for a big band at the Whiskey.
Okay.
And they were one of these bands that refused to strike their line. So they left the drums up. Okay, that's fine. You leave your drums up. You do whatever. We'll set up down in the front. This drummer was such a douche nozzle to this buddy of mine. And he just kept, you can't stand there. No, I don't want you to put your stick bag there. No, you can't put this there, kind of a thing. Dude, it's not even touching anything.
Prima donna?
Total prima donna. So my buddy, who shall remain nameless, goes upstairs at the Whiskey, and he's this kind of guy. He's from the days when we used to sabotage one another. He goes upstairs to the bathroom in the Whiskey, and I don't know what he had for supper. It doesn't necessarily matter. But let's just say the paperwork after he was done in the bathroom, he brought it down with him before he went on stage. And he got up behind the drummer's kit while the house lights were down and wiped crap all over this guy's drums and just waited for the moment. So he plays his set, whatever he does. He walks away, breaks down his drums, whatever, and he goes up to the balcony and just watches this guy sit down at his drums. And suddenly realize he's surrounded by smeared shit. I had nothing to do with this. I wasn't involved. This is secondhand information, but that's what I'm talking about.
That's fucking awesome.
That's when people used to screw with each other and sabotage. And this was a throwback. This is like, okay, youngster, this is what we used to do. Beautiful story.
So he was surrounded by how he treated people like shit.
Very much so.
It's funny. It's funny as fuck, dude.
He had to play the show. What's he going to do? Oh, we got to clean my drums.
Fuck, dude. I can't even imagine the smell, though, of playing.
Right. And you're trying to get your breath. You've been on the stage at the Whiskeys. You're trying to catch your breath.
You're right.
And it's hot up there. And
oh
it's summertime.
God, yes. And there's especially when there's like tons of people in that place. Yeah, all the body heat mixed with the lights.
And if I'm not mistaken, it was a sold-out show. And anyway, great story. I love stories like this, man.
When did this happen? A couple of years ago?
Probably 2006, 2007.
Oh my gosh.
It's been a while. So, and I think that band is no longer playing. But
it is what it is, right? There you go.
I don't think that guy will ever do that again.
So after
let's get back on track.
After you we're gonna go back to when you were jamming, and I think we're talking about Priest. Like somebody bring in a Priest record or something?
Exactly. So my brother was playing in the garage with this guy named Brian McKinley.
Okay.
Now Brian McKinley went to high school with the guy who was playing guitar in early Priest now, John Beatebach. So it's funny because John and I have shared stories. Yeah, Brian was the one that got us into Judas Priest. So my brother, I'm going to bring this new guitar player over. His name is Brian. Okay, fine. So Brian shows up, and he really damn good guitar player. I'm watching this kid. I call him a kid because he was. We all were at the time. I'm watching him play, and we're talking about all that heavy stuff we're into. Oh yeah, we like Van Halen, and we like Ted Nugent, and we like this. And you guys have never heard Judas Priest, have you? What does that mean? Of course, keep in mind, we're preacher's kids, right? Mm-hmm. So we're thinking, oh my gosh, are these guys evil? Are they satanic? What is it, right? So, no, man, they're this band. Next time he comes over, he brings over Stained Class. And Stained Class, this is 1978, okay? So Stained Class was the current record.
Yeah, that was the new one.
Yeah, current at the time, right?
And they were touring with Mahogany Rush.
Yeah, right? And that's a whole different story. So at any rate, he brings his record over, and I can remember him as clear as day dropping the needle on Exciter. And everything, when it changed with Black Sabbath, here came Judas Priest, and that was, I haven't changed since.
That was the next chapter.
That was the next chapter, and I pretty much haven't left that chapter. But it was that intense of a record. That's why I have such a bond with that album, and it's why I like that record so much. And that was everything. Everything changed at that point in time. It's like, wow. And then you start hearing more and more aggressive stuff. Scorpions come out with, what the heck was the album called?
Well, they came
out. Love Drive in 79.
Yeah, that was the last one with Michael Schenker on it.
Right, and they played the song Another Piece of Meat, which to me at the time was one of the fastest things I'd ever heard. And it was as fast as Judas Priest. It's like, wow, these bands are playing fast. Listen to this. And that's when all of a sudden I started playing.
Accept and all those guys came out.
Oh, I got the Accept story. Here we go.
Oh,
now
you
talk
got an
about
Accept story. Okay.
Talk about getting to know Accept. So my brother was playing bass in a band called Stormer.
Okay.
And they're, big in L.A. And at the same time, there's this young band from Covina Covina in Hollywood. They're starting to blow up, and they're called Motley Crue. And we know the guys, and, because, what is it? Tommy was actually from the town of Covina, which, where Covina's at.
Right.
Real close to where the guys
Park
from... Right. And the guys from Stormer are all from right around there, too, as well. Covina, La Puente, Baldwin Park, all that whole area. So there's a bond, a kinship, whatever. So I start seeing this band Motley Crue playing in places like Pookie's, which is about as big as your garage, maybe a little bit bigger.
Okay.
And you're watching something special. So anyway, one day Stormer and Motley Crue were going to play together, and Motley has just signed to Elektra Records. The Too Fast for Love album was already out.
Okay. So they have just released that by themselves, and then they got signed to Elektra, and
it's going to be reissued, and then they're going to start working on Shout at the Devil.
Yes.
So,
okay.
So there was this show that was going to happen. It was Stormer and Motley Crue together, and I had to give somebody in Stormer a ride. My brother wasn't available. Hey, can you give me a ride? I need to go over to Tommy Lee's house, and we need to,
That's cool.
Get approvals for flyers or get a logo or something. Okay, fine. What we do him? Nice guy, whatever. I thought I knew him. This kind of weighs into the story. So it's like 1 o'clock. It's like 1:30 here in the afternoon, kind of like it is right now. We're knocking on the door, and then finally Tommy comes and answers the door. and he's in his underwear. Shocking. He looks the same except for the haircut, right? He's string bean, 6'20", whatever the hell he is. And he comes downstairs and goes, "Oh, sorry, guys, I had a long night last night, but come on up to my bedroom." He goes back. We go back up to his bedroom. He starts laying down in bed because he's hungover, man. So we're standing here, and nice guy. We're talking. I'm thinking, this guy's really fucking cool. And anyway, the phone rings, and it's the guitar player for Stormer. It's Donnie Simmons. Donnie's one of my heroes. This guy, I could talk about him. How much tape you got? Put it that way. I could talk about this
about
guy
4
for
hours.
He was the first guitar god I think I ever met, where he's the guy who, it's like, this guy has the attitude. He was the party boy, could play blues all night long. White faded to yellow Les Paul custom with a 1970s Marshall stack and the tone. You know where I'm going, right? That kind of a guy. He had all of it, right? So anyway, we're sitting there, and Tom's on the phone, whatever, and he goes, "Okay, yeah. Well, there's a bunch of guys here. Yeah, I'll ask him. Okay, talk to you later. Bye." "Which one of you is Steve?" I raise my hand. He goes, "Donnie told me I'm supposed to play Accept for you." So he says, "Reach over there on that album rack, like right behind you, here where the records are." So, and he pulls out Accept's Breaker album, which was the current album. All right. So this is all happening in real time. We made friends with these guys. They hadn't played.
So Tommy Lee showed you Accept?
Tommy Lee shows me Accept, and he's dropping the needle on the album, playing every song. "Dude, check this out. Check this out." There's a song on the record called "Down and Out."
It's a great song.
Yeah, you know.
Yes.
You hear the drum intro, right? And then you hear Udo clench his teeth. It's the same thing he did in the song Balls to the Wall. That's why when Balls to the Wall came out years later, he's doing his teeth again. Yeah! So anyway, so Tommy's playing. He goes, "Dude, listen, he's grinding his teeth. He's playing these songs." I'd never heard anything like the song Breaker, or for that matter, Son of a Bitch, or
Kiss My Ass.
Right, or the song Starlight. I'm listening. What the fuck is this? I had never heard a singer sing like that before. It's like, everything in this, my world is changing. I'm watching the colors of outside change and everything like that. So immediately we drop this guy off after we take care of whatever business. We shoot out to Tower Records in Hollywood. My buddy Scott buys
off
the
Sunset,
record.
right? The famous Tower Records.
The Tower Records, because that's the only place that would have imports, right? He's got it. Oh, there's only one copy. Scott says, "I got it first. I'm buying it." So we go back to his house and listen to this album until hell freezes over. Invite over all of our friends. "Dude, you gotta hear this. This is incredible." Everything in the world is changing, right? So then we start hearing the story about, wow, Accept changed guitar players. Obviously Wolf is still in the band.
Right.
And they were changing other guitar players. They're having trouble with their label, but they're working on a new record. It's supposed to be the best thing they ever did. That album ends up becoming Restless and Wild. So the same thing, my buddy Mike Gardner, and the three of us, myself, Mike, and Scott, pile back in the car, and we we go back out to Tower Records once again. It's like, okay, it should be there. And we're looking in the Accept rack. There's nothing there. Mike, smart guy that he is, goes to the A rack, and there it is. Again, one copy. He buys it. We go back to his house. Now, imagine this, 1981, right? He drops it, and Mike had a pristine stereo system, right? And the thing was beautiful. He drops it. He puts the record on. He puts on the first song. And we start hearing it scratch. He goes, "Fuck, I bought a bad record. Listen to this thing scratch." And it starts off with...
Because that's how it starts off.
Starts off with Fast as a Shark. We about shit ourselves. We didn't call the metalheads. We called the punk rockers. It's like, "Dude, you guys need to come over and hear this." And that's when the walls, at least in my part, Arcadia, that's when the walls broke down. All of a sudden, the punks and the metalheads started getting along. It's like, we're doing the same fucking thing. This is real time. Is this kind of stuff you're hoping to get into?
I'm stoked. Dude, I can't wait to hear the first time you heard Motorhead story too.
Well, we'll get into that, and that's
that'll
coming.
tie into like some of the Abattoir stuff we'll get into later.
Well, the Abattoir stuff we'll get into is going to have to double back to Accept, so we're going to probably stop right here and get into Motorhead.
we probably will. Okay, so after I guess you heard all these bands, like what was the first band where you were playing around LA a lot?
What were we called? It was the stupidest name. Why we came up with this name, I don't know. The band was called Virgin Leopard.
Okay.
Yeah, right. And
so that sounds more of like a hair kind of band.
Well, none of us had. Well, we couldn't have long hair at the time. We were all still young. But no, it's funny. I think back to some of these songs.
I was talking musically speaking.
Well, of course, but this was very. It was very Judas Priesty.
Okay.
It was very obvious where the influences came from. Why we changed the name? I think the manager at the time said, "You need to change the name. Squire is stupid."
Wait, but you guys had a manager?
Oh yeah, it was just somebody. This is back in the day when people that couldn't play but had the gift of gab, would pick up the phone and they would make phone calls on your behalf and act like somebody. Did you read K.K. Downing's book?
Not yet.
Okay,
no,
there's one section where they talk about this guy named Corky, who, when Priest was still a four-piece band, this guy Corky used to act like he was this big shot when he really wasn't. But people believe anybody that has the gift of gab. And that's why they got booked on a bunch of tours as transatlantic recording artist. Means nothing. He just made the word up. But people bought it, right? And it's anybody that could do this kind of stuff. So you need to change your name. That name's stupid. And besides, you change singers, because I joined this band with my buddy Andy once again. And he was the drummer of this band. Very, very Judas Priest-like. It was very... And the band imploded for stupid reasons. We were high school kids. I think somebody was banging somebody else's girlfriend, and that was that.
Of course.
Shocker,
in the 80s,
right?
That probably happened all the time, right?
Of course. And then the guitar player the guy who wrote most of the songs later ended up going to prison for some reason as a youngster. And that was the end of that, so all over. But that band was really good. But I started to... Okay, what am I going to do next? I started playing with a couple of different bands. There were bands in high school. They were all very Sabbathy, Priesty, AC/DC influenced. There was a music store in Rosemead, and this guy named Ron Devu, great name, right? This was the early 80s, so that could work. He reaches out to my brother and says, hey, there's this band that comes in here and they buy stuff. He says, they're looking for a singer. They want to get rid of their singer. And it turns out that band was a band called, what were they called at the time? Wild Rose. This Wild Rose band featured Joey DeAnda, Jimmy DeAnda, a bass player named Randy Krauthammer, so it was a four-piece band. And we come into this. Joey is one of the most monstrous guitar players. I've known him, since this time, 1981, I guess it was. And Jimmy DeAnda later ended up playing drums in the Bullet Boys. He's also I think he just started playing, if I'm not mistaken, with Lynch Mob again. I may be wrong on that, so don't quote me. He just did the M3 festival with Black and Blue, that kind of a thing. Very good. Once again, a very Judas Priesty kind of band. It's just the way it is. So anyway, we're starting to rehearse. We're starting to do some gigs. This gets good. This is where everything starts tying together. So one day we're at a rehearsal at a place called Stormore, and this is in Rosemead, California.
Okay, so we're still in Rosemead in like 81, 82.
Right. This is all they're 3, 4, 5 miles separated,
and,
so it's all the neighborhood.
And Storm. Oh God, what was the band that
the band was called Stormer.
Stormer just had kind of broken up, and then
they were still together at this point in time. They still were. So,
but you had left. Is that what
I was never in Stormer.
Okay.
My brother was.
Okay, gotcha.
I know.
Gotcha. That's the confusing part.
Probably confusing the crap out of you. So we're at rehearsal. This is the Wild Rose Band, or we were just changing our name over to Prisoner, because it's the 80s. This is what bands sounded like, right? They changed their name to something stupid. So we're starting to change our name, and these guys show up, and this guitar player shows up, and he sits down on the couch, backup guitar sitting right next to him. And, hey guys, hyperactive as you could possibly be, looks like a rock star from across the room. He's like, oh, this guy looks fantastic, and I think we're missing a look. All right. First thing he does, he sits down, he grabs that backup guitar, and as we're playing, he's picking up the songs, he's watching, he's playing, and I'm listening to him strum between songs. He knew all the songs immediately just by sitting and picking them up. Guy's name was Danny Oliverio. 1981, 1982.
Okay. He'll be in
exactly.
A lot this.
And he'll
big shout out to
Dan.
Dan.
Right,
to
he
Dan,
picked
by
up,
the way.
Now this backup guitar, by the way, was just another BC Rich Mockingbird from the 70s. Right? Oh, let me play this.
And Dan's like a fucking 6 foot something guy too. He's a tall guy, dude.
He's a tall guy, and he at the time. Sorry, bud. You know I love you. Danny used to be really handsome. He had the long bitchin' rock hair. I mean, and then like all the rest of us, we all turned into mud ducks somewhere down the road. Look at us all. No, he had this look about him. He was the kind of guy who walked into a room and looked like a rock star, and he could play guitar. And then we became a 5-piece. So you got the DeAnda brothers, you got Danny, you got this bass player named Randy he had the gift of gab. This guy could talk anybody into anything. I watched him buy an Ampeg SVT. The guy was asking $500 for it. He walked out of it paying $100 for it.
Wow.
And those amps, as you know now, are $2,500. It's like, how in the hell did you finagle? He said, I just figured I could talk him out of it. And the guy was happy with the $100 bill. Anyway, that kind of thing. This is a different time, man. Things have changed so dramatically.
Right.
So Prisoner runs its course. And at the same time,
Prisoner. So there was a band name.
Right. That was Wild Rose became Prisoner.
Gotcha.
That was these guys.
And I was the first band you were in. I was referring to was
Virgin Leopard.
Yeah,
right.
That's the band I was trying. So you would just I was
right.
Trying
They
to paint
broke
that
up because
picture.
the guitar player went to jail.
Right. So and then
I ended up
early
in this
'80s,
band.
and then Wild Rose came
Right.
out.
I ended up in this band.
Mm-hmm.
So the funny thing about this is this band was largely based, well, Randy was based in Alhambra. At Alhambra High School was this band called Abattoir. Okay, now, Randy won't shut up about them. He's like, fuck, you got to see what this Abattoir band is doing. They're doing this and they're doing that. He never stops talking about them. Who in the fuck? So anyway, dude, I just talked to Mel. Mel says Abattoir is going to be playing all original music now. They're not going to play cover songs anymore. Okay.
Wait.
Okay, so you see where this is going.
Wait. Let me paint the picture for like us young kids. So back in like the late 70s, early 80s,
yeah.
I've read a couple music books, so I kind of know some little things.
Sure.
A club would not book a band if you had all original material.
That is correct.
The club wanted bands to have cover songs, so people would go there and obviously just drink and not even.
They want to hear songs they recognize, not
Right.
not who the hell is this.
Right.
And they
so
want to sell alcohol.
in the early 80s, that was kind of a big deal if you were a band that
Right.
played all original. So
Now, when you
obviously
make-
nowadays
yeah.
it's
It's a different
yeah.
story, but man, that was a conscious decision at that point in time. No, we're not going to play anybody else's stuff. We're playing all originals. So we, Prisoner at the time was playing almost all originals. I think we played, shocker, a Priest song. I think we played Tyrant. I think we played, a couple of cover songs. But anyway, he won't shut up, and he's talking about this. Go, dude, says they're playing at the Ice House. And I looked at him. It's clear
Ice
as day.
House?
The Ice House in Pasadena, which is a comedy. It's a comedy place. They used to do bands on Monday nights.
Okay.
So anyway, he won't shut up about them. Somewhere there's a rehearsal tape, and I used to have it, where I actually turn to Randy and I hear myself say, who the fuck is this Abattoir band, and why won't you shut up about them? All right? So anyway, I go, and this is where the Accept story is going to tie back in. I go see them play, and I walk into the Ice House, and I had never seen anything like this. First of all, the room's packed, because they brought all their friends down. But as I'm going through the room, the first person I see, now keep in mind that Motley Crue's Too Fast for Love had just been reissued, so the pictures of Nikki Sixx wearing that spike thing, playing the BC Rich, was it a Warlock?
Yes.
Okay, he was playing a Warlock, right?
The white.
No, it was black.
White or black?
It was
yeah.
black, right? So he's playing this black Warlock. So I walk in and I see this bass player, who happened to be Mel, right? Looked like, dare I say this, looked like an evil version of Nikki Sixx. He looked like this, like the evil satanic version. He had stuff written all over his arm. Turns out I know where that came from later. But he, on one arm it says "Take a Wad," on the other arm it says "Schmegma." It's that kind of stuff. It's the comedy, the sense of humor. But he's playing this Warlock bass and he's ripping up. From there, I look over to this side. I see Mark the Shark Caro. Mark, at the time, had his hair done like a witch. It went straight up and straight back down. He's playing this natural Ibanez Destroyer. One of the most insane guitar players I ever saw in my life. I'm watching these guys go back and forth. Way over here on this side of the stage is big, tall, kind of, I don't want to call him gangly because he was a bigger dude, Juan Garcia, right? Who still had pretty short hair at the time. I think he still had his pencil mustache.
All you guys just know tall motherfuckers.
Well, sorry about that. But anyway, so there's Juan over there, and Juan's not really moving, but he's, again, playing a BC Rich. What is it? The same one he still has. And every now and again I see it, and it's like, he's still got that guitar. He says, dude, I don't take that out of the house. But he's over there, and he's got this stage presence that scares me. And they had this singer in the middle, which was Raul Preston, he later went by. And this is when all the Latinos were trying to anglify their names, which was the stupidest thing ever.
Marketing purposes.
Right. It was stupid because at the time, I don't want to call it racism because it's not racism.
Well,
it's just, it was ignorance, if you will. It really was ignorance. It's like everybody's people. That's a whole different story.
It was not as accepting. Let's just put it that way.
Right. And people were intent on changing their names away from being Latino. Anyway, that has nothing to do with nothing, but he's screaming and he sounds exactly like Udo Dirkschneider. It's like, these guys are like a fast Accept. Every song is fast as a shark would have been their slowest song. Okay. And I'm watching this, I'm going, holy crap. And it's like, okay, so now I see what Randy's talking about. These guys are good. And Raul makes the mistake of saying, hey, we're having an after party at our rehearsal place, such and such. It's on Valley Boulevard, the corner of Valley and 6th in Alhambra. So I leave the Ice House, go down to their after party, and I meet the guys. And I introduce myself to each one of them. Hi, yeah, such and such, whatever. I talked to Raul, and Raul was like, yeah. He said, yeah, dude, you got a crazy voice. You sound like good. Because I don't really like what I'm doing. I said, what do you mean? He goes, it's just, this is not what I want to do. So immediately in the back of my head, I'm thinking, he's going to leave. He's going to quit this band. This band is this good. And me, like an idiot, I think, I'm good enough to do this job. So it carries on for a couple of months, and then Raul finally quits. And they start holding singer auditions.
Right.
So I come down to the singer audition, and I'm not patting myself on the back, but I was kind of a shoe-in because I started...
Wait, but you came out, like, after...
Oh, we got to talk about... Yeah, we're going to get into Bloodlust in a second.
No. Well, yeah, Bloodlust was first, but I mean, in the Abattoir thing, I thought they had a couple different vocalists before
They had several
you.
vocalists. I think I was the 7th vocalist in the band.
Okay.
So they had several. So where are we here? So we're back to
83, pretty much.
83 or 84.
Yeah,
83-ish, thereabouts. Yeah, I was 83. You're right. So I'm talking, and Raul's going to quit. I'm thinking, okay, fine. So he does quit a few months later, and I go audition. I thought I had a shoe in. Yes, I'm getting the second call back. I'm singing again. All of a sudden, he has this guy that he finds, and it's John Cyrus. Right? Now, John Cyrus, who I'm not going to get into my personal things with him. You're shaking your head, so you...
I know. I've already seen all the documentations.
Right.
All the live videos, all the interviews, anything that's come out in the past year. If you guys followed that whole shit show,
well,
you probably already know where I'm going with this.
Let's just put it this way.
I'm trying to be nice here.
I'm trying to be nice here too, but almost everything that happened to John, he did to himself. I'm just going to leave it at that. This is the guy has a gift. He doesn't realize it and can't.
That's why I just stick to the records. I don't care.
Right. So anyway, so all of a sudden John Cyrus gets into the band because he tells the guys that he was the singer for the band Scepter or Spectre, whatever they were called. They were on Metal Massacre 4 as well. No. Massacre 3. He was actually the guitar player. He wasn't the singer. But he told everybody he was the singer. He's like, listen to this guy. And that singer had this incredibly high voice. And, it's like, oh, fuck. Okay, I can't beat this guy. So then John gets into the band, and and it's like, oh, that's not the same singer. He was the guitar player. So anyway, so John's in the band for a little bit, and I get all disillusioned. I figured, oh, okay, fine. I'm going to go find something else. I want to do something like they do because I'm tired of playing this kind of like lightweight stuff. I want to get into something heavier.
Right.
I go to Poobah Records in Pasadena, and there's a sign up on the bulletin board. This is back in the days when there were bulletin boards, guys. Push pins, pieces of paper.
Dude, I used to do that in the early 2000s to find bandmates, so
right.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
And it said, European-influenced heavy metal band looking for vocalists. Don't let this rinky-dink ad fool you. We are serious. If you're into Sabbath, Priest, Iron Maiden, and Accept, give us a call. Boom. What am I going to do? So
you're going to give them a call.
Me being the arrogant guy that I am, I didn't just take one of the numbers. I took the whole damn flyer. So nobody else
so you didn't want anybody else to get the job, dude.
And walked in and got the gig, just like that. And suddenly Bloodlust was formed. And that was with Earl Mendenhall, Anthony Romero, Sandy, who's now playing in Ruthless, and got a drummer named Mark Cuestas, who was the first one that I dealt with who was from El Sereno or Lincoln Heights and the whole northeast Los Angeles area. Where there's something in the water there. They're the greatest drummers on earth. They really are in that 20 square miles, whatever it is. Anyway, short story long. So we start doing the Bloodlust thing, and it turns out John's not working out. At the same time, Bloodlust is starting to happen. We play this show at Madame Wong's in Chinatown. Now
that's the famous that's the famous venue that nobody can fucking think of. That's like a Chinese food place.
Yeah.
It
was in Chinatown,
yeah,
upstairs in Chinatown.
Who's the lady that ran that place?
Oh, God, I don't remember her name, but it was called Madame Wong's.
Famous in like the whole L.A. community that nobody talks about.
There was Madame Wong's West and Madame Wong's Chinatown. There was one that was in, I don't want to say Santa Monica, but in West L.A. someplace, I forget where. So we play at this show, and this lineup, this is where I realize I'm out of my league. This lineup, the band that came on after us is Beowulf. And Beowulf at the time sounded... Yes, they were fresh out of Venice.
Fucking
Venice,
speed
actually,
metal.
yeah.
Venice.
And they sounded exactly like Motorhead. We got our asses handed to us. What's worse...
Dale's a good guy. Shout out to Dale.
Yeah. What's worse is that the headlining band who just released Show No Mercy was Slayer. And me, like an idiot... They come walking in the room, and and I'm looking at the guys, and hey, aren't you guys going to put your makeup on? I had no idea that, very famously, a couple of weeks prior, they went up to play in the Bay Area, and they had the makeup wiped off while they were on stage by Paul Bailoff. Apparently, that's a true story. I mean, if anybody can corroborate that, we've all heard that to be a true story. But they stopped wearing makeup after San Francisco.
Yeah, I'm sure Andy Ford will just tell us that 50,000 times. Oh,
Andy,
I was there.
Have we ever talked? Yeah, Andy was there, I'm sure. Even if he wasn't there, he was there. He might have been in the Navy at the time. But
big shout out to Andy Ford.
We love you, dude. But so anyway, Slayer hands us our ass. And that's the first time. And there weren't that many people there, whatever. But unbeknownst to anybody at that show, I had a fever of 104. And so, oh, we have a show, so I'm going to play. I'm sicker than a fucking dog, and I had no idea we were actually showcasing for Road Racer Records at the time. So Case Wessels, the president of Road Racer Records, shows up and says, great band, get rid of your singer. So instead of the band backing me up, they shit-canned me. Bounced me out of Bloodlust.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, dude, I was sicker than a fucking dog. Okay, fine. Yeah, there's no use fighting. So me, like an idiot, looking for sympathy, I reach out to my buddy Mark Caro. I said, hey, Mark, I said, do you know any bands looking for a singer? I said, because I said, I'm no longer with Bloodlust. I said, they let me go because of it. And I explained the story. He goes, dude, and he says, we're auditioning singers right now. He says, John just quit. Okay, so later on that day, I'm down there and I'm auditioning. And once again, I'm in the door. I've got the fucking gigs for a second time. Juan, on the other hand, finds this singer. He and the drummer at the time, a guy named Robert Pollock, who went by the name of Robert Dangerwayne. They found this drummer at a 7-Eleven in Monterey Park. They found this singer at a 7-Eleven in Monterey Park. This guy is just the most insane-looking person you've ever seen in your life. Lived in the house next door to the 7-Eleven. And they decided to hang out with him. Dude, this is going to be our singer. This is our singer. This is our singer. So I had the gig. I'm writing lyrics with them, and all of a sudden, we got to talk. We're going to have Rich be our singer. So I'm bounced out once again.
A crushing blow.
Crushing blow, but his resiliency starts getting built up here. This is what happens. This is what a lot of people don't understand. It's like a lot of other people would have just gone away. Oh, fuck, I'm not going to be in a band anymore. I'm going to get a job at a gas station or whatever the hell. So, am I rambling on? Holy crap.
You're good. No, keep going.
So we get into, help me here. I get bounced out of that, and Bloodlust calls me, Earl calls me, because dude, he says, we realized we made a mistake. He said, we want to have you as a singer because it turns out that Road Racer didn't want the band after all. They just wanted to see if the band would respond to their direction.
Oh.
This is the way labels used to be. So, I've got a chip on my shoulder, but I go back to Bloodlust. And the chip on my shoulder is probably the worst thing that ever happened because my relationship with them, while it was
strained already,
very strained, and even to this day remains strained, even though I've been back in the band a handful of times.
And you went back after their first record came out,
right?
And you obviously, I'll get into that stuff.
Yeah, so we start putting together songs. Say, look, guys, we need to get a lot heavier. We got to get away from this majestic Black Sabbath-y Ronnie James Dio thing and get into being in a heavier thing because that's where music is going. They start going that way. We put all the lyrics and music together for what became the Guilty as Sin album. So when you see on Bloodlust Guilty as Sin album lyrics written by Bloodlust, me. They gave me credit without giving me credit. And somewhere on those master tapes you can actually hear me singing because I gave guide tracks to the singer that came in. But here's what happened. So Abattoir at the same time goes into the studio with this rich guy. And this pissed me off because that's when they finally listened to him sing. The same thing they told me with John Cyrus. We finally heard his voice when he sang, when he recorded. Are you guys just hiring people without listening to him? So anyway, they bring in this rich guy, and the rich is tone deaf to begin with. It's just absolutely terrible.
Well, people wanted the look more
exactly.
than the substance. You know?
And I'm going to get into this, and I piss off all the guys in the Bay Area when I say this, but what the hell? I've said it, and I'll say it again. Paul Bailoff ruined lead vocals.
Oh, I think he's the greatest fucking
exactly.
metal frontman ever.
But here's the thing. He's the greatest metal frontman ever, but he made it okay for singers to not have to sing on key. He's the one that created Cookie Monster. He made it okay.
Yeah!
Right. He made it okay, and that's great. It worked for Paul. Paul was fantastic.
It worked for what he was doing.
Everybody that came behind him, hey, I don't have to be, look, Paul's not good, and he's incredible. Everybody loves him. And that's when the era of the bad singers started happening. I can't not be on key. I've got to be on key. I can't do Cookie Monster. It kills me. Anyway, different story.
Even though later on in your career, you had some of that in there.
But if you listen, everything is a chosen note.
I know.
It's just I can't do it. So where are we? So
we are at.
They get in the studio
right
with Rich
before you record the Vicious Attack record.
Correct.
So you got the phone call from Abattoir.
Right.
And say, oh, this guy can't sing.
Right, and that's essentially what happened. So Mark Carl's calling me over and over again. I keep getting phone messages, and I'm blowing him off. It's like, I don't want to talk about it. When finally he gets me on the phone one day. This is in the days before answering machines, guys. So, okay.
Really? I didn't know that, dude. I've always grown up with the answering machine.
There was a time when people didn't have answering machines. This is 1984. Seriously. Answering machine was like $150, $200, $300, one cassette to another. It was a big deal. So finally, I pick up the phone one day and say, shit, it's Mark. Okay, what am I going to do? So I start talking. Dude, he says, we want you to come be in the band. And I said, Mark, we've been down this road too many times. And no, he goes, listen, man. He says, we finally heard Rich. We recorded with him. He says, he's not good. I said, I could have told you that. He says, and he's this and that. And he says, come on. So, okay, look, I'll get together. I'll meet with you. We'll talk. And they played the tape for me. And I'm sorry, the recording, 2 songs.
Do you have it?
I don't have a copy of it. I imagine
somebody
somebody does somewhere, whether Juan has it or Mark has it or maybe Mel has it someplace. But there's actually a recording someplace. Maybe Rico, the old manager, has it. There's actually a recording someplace of Rich singing a song called Stronger Than Satan, which later became Stronger Than Evil, of course. Mutilated bodies left to decay. Rotted smell of death brings stronger every day.
Sounds like a gum commercial.
Tone deaf like a motherfucker. It was horrid. I started feeling bad. So I'm thinking...
At that point, it's like, okay, now I...
Well, no, then I feel bad because, like, okay, they can't release this. This is terrible, and they're stuck with this guy. So I blow it off again.
And they're signed to a label, right? Aren't
no,
they?
We're getting into that.
Oh,
This is still not happening. This is just a demo. 2 of the songs that ended up on Vicious Attack were actually these songs. So I'm losing my train of thought here. So I go back and I have another rehearsal with Bloodlust, and I forget what happened. Somebody showed up late and started an argument. I forget what it was. It was one of the things, you know what, fuck this. So I get home from that rehearsal, and I call Mark. Hey, Mark, I said, you know what, on second thought, let me come down. I said, let's see what happens. So I came down and auditioned for a 3rd time. And then, okay, fine, give me a call. So by the time I got home, my phone was ringing as I'm walking in the door. He goes, hey, dude, he says, no more bullshit. The job's yours if you want it. And there it was. So ended up in Abattoir just like that. But
your
I earned the motherfucker.
but your vocal style. So now that you talked about your influences, now it kind of goes full circle on how your vocal style was back in the mid or early 80s to mid 80s.
Sure. Yeah,
because
maybe
you had
you can kind of see that.
That siren fucking just...
At the time, I didn't realize what the limits of my voice were. I've told this story a million times. In fact, we probably talked about it. I thought that I could do anything Ronnie James Dio or Jeff Tate did. I really did. I said, oh, it's just high notes. I can hit the high notes. So what? Who gives a flying fuck? I don't have that. I can do it once every here and again. If I make a career out of it, I'm done. And people didn't dig it. I learned that the hard way. The analogy I always drew was from the 1995 NBA playoffs. And I love basketball. Basketball is a great metaphor for being in a band, kids. So you're looking at the 2 of the greatest centers that ever played in the 95 playoffs. Hakeem Olajuwon versus Shaquille O'Neal. All this time I thought I was Hakeem. Very finesse player. I had grace and I could do all this shit.
Until that tank just comes in and just fucking mows you over and say, oh man, I need to change my game.
Not only that, I didn't have the finesse that I thought I did. It's like, God, I really don't have this, but I have all that mid-range shit, the stuff that Shaq brings to the center position. It's like, if I come in there and I just bludgeon the crap out of people, and everything changed just like that. But it was a long time later before I learned that. It was 1995 before I learned that lesson.
That's so that 10-year gap. I mean, when you were doing walk me through. I guess like how was Abattoir signed before you guys went into the studio to record Vicious?
No, this was actually just another demo because they did the demo with Rawl singing with Screams from the Grave and the song Vicious Attack. This was going to be another demo with a new singer to take and go shopping, and turns out that the guy that was producing it was a guy named Jay Jones, was a local guy, kind of a strange character, but we won't get into that.
And when you say shopping, you mean like
pretty
much go to or mail all this tape out to all these labels and see which one wants to pick it up, if anyone.
Exactly.
Pick it up. Okay.
So we did the recording. I did vocals on 3 songs. I did vocals on Stronger Than Evil, Don't Walk Alone, and Living in the Dead. And we didn't keep the version of Living in the Dead because it wasn't as good as the one we later recorded. But the 2 other songs ended up on the Vicious Attack album. Those are actually the demo songs. That's why people say, the album's just a demo you released. Well, no, not really. 2 songs were. The other 6 songs were recorded for the record. But, so we take this and we go see Brian Slagle because the band was already involved with Metal Blade. And Brian, here, let me listen to it. Of course, let me turn it up in my stereo in the other room. Right? So he turns it up. We're sitting in his living room listening to it. Me, like a typical idiot, I have to go use the restroom. I walk by and I realize he's dubbing the tape. He didn't do anything with it, but he's burning a copy for himself. So, okay, well, yeah, that's great, guys. I'll let you know. By the time we got back to the following day, Jay Jones walked in and said, hey, Important has a distribution deal on the table. This is Important Records.
Right.
And he says, not only this is worldwide, he said it has to do with Music for Nations in Europe and whatever. So distribution's a big deal. He said, you can actually put out the record on your own. And okay, fine, so we signed that. So we start working on that with the whole idea of, okay, we got a record to do here, and we start, where are we going to come up with funding? The manager's funding the album. Combat, not Johnny Z, but Steve Sinclair, and
Right.
I'm forgetting the other guy's name. They, without even hearing the band, they sent a contract in the mail. They said, here you go, because at the same time, they also offered a contract to Exodus for Bonded by Blood. They had the co-deal with Hell Awaits, with Metal Blade and Combat.
Right.
They also did Possessed, the first Possessed album.
7 Churches.
Right, 7 Churches, and what else?
They did Death. They've done a bunch of other
right.
shit, dude.
But on this day in 1985, these 4 albums were released, and we got in on that wave. So, that we ended up doing that, and then we were signed to Combat, had all kinds of money for 3 months. Music paid my bills. And I'll tell you what, when that gravy train stops, I learned very quick. I ended up, as a result of this. Okay, I'm going to get off track here. Let me get back to it.
No, you're good.
So the Vicious Attack album's put out, and we want to go off on tour. Now, we finished recording the album.
Now, what was it like to be in the recording studio for maybe like the first time when you were doing?
When we were doing that recording.
This is the first one
Okay,
record you've ever done, right?
I'm going to blow your mind here. Does the name Jay Jones sound familiar?
Not
Do you have a copy of Killing Is My Business over there?
I do on vinyl somewhere
on vinyl.
over there. Yeah.
Jay Jones produced Killing Is My Business.
That was probably the other one you're trying to think
Right.
of because that came out on Combat.
Yes, you're right. That you are absolutely right. And Jay Jones did Killing Is My Business as well. He did
Possessed,
Abattoir's Vicious
Exodus,
Attack.
And what was the fourth one? Anyway,
So
those
he
4
would do
came on.
10-hour studio blockouts. 5 hours went to Abattoir, 5 hours went to Megadeth. We were recording our albums at the same time.
Wow.
There was a lot of drugs and alcohol. A lot.
Well, the story for that record goes half of the budget went to drugs and fucking alcohol, and then the other one went to the recording process of Killing Is My Business.
Well, so that means a quarter of the budget went to Megadeth. But no, we put our money
Right.
into the recording. We got it done for relatively cheap, and there was other money left over that we ended up paying down some of the bills we ran up with the manager.
But it's also a short record.
It
Vicious
is.
Attack is only like a
27
minutes long.
Just a tick under 28 minutes, yeah. It's a short record, and yeah, we had other
and there's
songs.
a cover song on it too. It's
Ace
not
of
even
Spades.
yeah. It's
Ace
not,
of Spades was in the set. We played it all the time. It's funny, in hindsight, people ask all the time, why did you do that? It's because the song was only 4 years old at the time. Well, yeah, it was, but it was synonymous at the time in Los Angeles. And those Abattoir shows were insane back in the day. My God.
And let's not forget, Motorhead inspired literally every LA band,
Everybody, yes. Absolutely everybody.
especially during the mid '80s.
Or early 80s. I mean, that was one of the crossover bands,
Right.
because all the punks liked them too.
MX Machine had Stay Clean on
Sure,
their.
And we just heard it before we started
Yeah,
recording.
yeah.
So,
So,
yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
just saying that's the one band that fucking all LA bands can are drawn to is Motorhead.
Right. So let me back up here a little bit. So we finished the record. Before we finished the album, we were offered direct support. Watch this. I want to see the expression on your face. We
Okay.
were offered the direct support slot for Merciful Fate
Whoa.
on the Don't Break the Oath tour.
Wow.
West Coast.
Wow.
All right? Juan Garcia worked his ass off to get this. And he's like, dude, I'm working on this. This is going to be incredible. This is going to be, you imagine what this is going to do, how many people this is going to put us in. He was very business-minded. And it was one of those things that put you in front of the right crowd, the right demographic. And that's another thing with regards to the shows you play. So anyway, he works his ass off, and it's like, okay, we've got is it San Diego, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Portland, and Seattle.
Okay.
Okay, 5 shows. That's it, but it's Don't Break the Oath. Mel Sanchez. No, dude, I don't want to go. My father will be angry at me because he worked for his dad's meat business. I don't want to go. And it's not just I don't want to go. It's I worked my ass off. My name, my reputation is on the line here. And he says, I don't want to go. He says, and none of you guys want to go either. Is one of those kind of things. This is where self-destruction.
My way or the highway.
This is where self-destruction started happening, and this pushed Juan away. We're so close to the end of the record. Unbeknownst to us, John Cyrus is, Juan, join my band. I'm putting together Agent Steel. And we'd gone and seen Agent Steel before Juan was in the band. They were okay, And so suddenly at the very last recording session, something happened between Juan and Mel where they got into a fist fight. And Juan says, fuck it, I'm out of here. And we figured, okay, he's just pissed off. It's all over. The record's done. We just got done mixing, blah, blah, blah. Following day, we get a phone call. He's quitting. He's joining Agent Steel. So we just finished the record.
Wow.
What did we do? And immediately, everybody knew because of the fact that Prisoner and Abattoir hung out together so much. I go hang out at one of the Abattoir roadies' houses, and Dan Oliverio is there at the house. He goes, you think I'd fit? I said, let me talk to the guys about that. I don't know. Let's talk about it. I get home that day and there's a phone call from Mel. He goes, do you think Danny would fit in the band? He's just like, it's kismet. It's like, okay, fine. So he jumps in. Suddenly he's an Abattoir. We don't miss a beat. So we have an opportunity to go play in the Bay Area. Had 2 shows. One of them, they were not promoted properly. We were going to play at Ruthie's, and we did play at Ruthie's. Played in front of the only
Dude, you
people.
played with Megadeth at Ruthie's,
no, that
right?
was a different show. That was actually done with Raw. Raw quit.
Okay.
After the show with Megadeth. Yeah, I don't know if it's just what I want to do in front of a packed audience going nuts. I've heard tapes. So anyway, he what do you call it? So we go up there, we do these shows, and the first one we do is at Ruthie's Inn, and the only people in the crowd are Metallica and Exodus. Right? So you've got Cliff Burton, Rick Hunold, and Gary Holt banging their heads on the stage.
Wow.
3 people on the front line. You know those horrible, abysmal gigs where no one shows up? Well, 3 people showed up, and it was those 3. And they were banging hard. You got Lars back here. You got James back at the bar.
How incredible,
Everybody
though.
except for Kirk was there. And it just, yeah, right. So we're doing this thing. And they say, you guys are fucking incredible. Where is everybody? It turns out the promoter says, I fucked up. He says, look, all the flyers you guys sent up are sitting in the office. So Metallica and Exodus both get on the phone. This is pre-internet, guys. They get on the phone, tell all their friends. They say, Abattoir's in town. They're playing at Mabuhay Gardens tomorrow. You've got to be there. You've got to be there. Mel is so pissed. Fuck it. We're going home. So we're already up here. We've already lost the money on the trip, and whatever. So we're going home. I'm not going to play there, and you guys don't want to play there either. Either we go home or I quit the band. Okay, so
Peace out, dude.
Right. Okay. And
No
knowing
offense,
then,
no offense. And
No,
this is going to sound terrible, but you can find a bass player.
right?
Trust me.
Exactly. Not only that, but somebody knew all the bass parts and all the songs. But that's a different story. See, that's back in the day when you couldn't do that. So anyway, we get back to L.A. and by the time we get back home, where the fuck are you guys? Why aren't you here? And people are calling into L.A. wondering where we are because nobody had cell phones. So we went home.
You
so there's
guys,
nobody there.
you guys left. You guys
left.
Oh my god!
Because Mel said to. So here's what they did. Well, we got to have a band to play. The place was the sold out, and there's people down the sidewalk.
Dude, you
Wait,
sold out a show.
It gets worse. So they figured, well, who are we going to call? Well, there's this young band that's been annoying the crap out of us. They want to get on one of the thrash shows. Why don't we just give them a shot? Nobody else will play the show. They gave the headlining slot, probably show number 3 or number 4 ever, to Death Angel.
Wow.
Who put them on the map? Through their own Hubris Incorporated.
Wow.
Right. Okay, so it's like, holy
so that
crap.
could have been you.
Could have been. Dude, there are so many opportunities. There's so many could have beens. And everybody else will blame, oh, this happened or that happened. No, we fucked up. We made a lot of bad choices.
I feel there's one constant variable that's just fucking up all your choices right now. That's what I'm saying.
It gets better. You want? Yeah, okay. Look at the gritting of the teeth. This gets better. So,
and obviously the Merciful Fate tour was just off the table already.
That was already a year. That was a year prior, or 8 months prior. That had already come and gone.
Right. How sad. That would have been a great.
I know. It kills me. And they were killer on that. We went to that show. Anyway, so we have another opportunity. We're trying to sell this record, and it's like suddenly because Mel's not able to go out and tour. I can't go. My father will fire me. It's like, well, what did we do this for? I'm living at that point in time. I'm doing the couch trip, going from place to place to place because I got no money.
Right.
Ended up living in the back seat of my 1979 Ford Fairmont at the railroad tracks in Arcadia, counting on Amtrak's Southwest Chief to wake me up every morning. Talk about living it. People say, you don't sacrifice for metal. Fuck you. I've done it, man. I've done it. And I'll tell you what, I do a lot of sacrifices again, but nobody did that shit. How we doing? Are we running out of battery?
Good. No,
okay, just want to make sure we're good.
We're good on the battery time, man. It's all you, dude. I'm engaged in what you got going on right here.
All right, so anyhow, we're trying to get tour dates. Abattoir ended up playing 7 shows in support of Vicious Attack. 1 in San Francisco, 6 in Los Angeles. How pathetic is that? Pathetic like crap.
And this was back in the day where you literally had to tour.
Yes.
In order to have promotion.
Right.
You didn't have the internet. It was just
Yep. So here we are, 1985. Okay, now management at the time is starting to get pressure. Why Combat decided of all the bands they needed a commercial success because some of the glammy, more glammy, pretty bands were starting to get more noticed,
yes.
right? So hey, let's talk to Abattoir about getting them to do that. They were going after every manager. Of course, Slayer's not going to do it. Exodus is not going to do it. Megadeth's not going to do it. Let's see if the Abattoir guys will do it. So they start wanting to go in a more commercial direction. I start putting my foot down. I'm writing songs Where's that Tactics thing? We'll get into that.
I know that's part of it. So let me get to that.
And it's a long story. So I'm writing songs and everything. No, dude. We want to do this. We want to do that. It's going to be different. And I'm starting to get pissed. At the same time, I was dating this chick who was cancer. And women will screw your band up if you let them. Yokos. So, so anyway, it's a combination of things. So I'm arguing with the band because I don't believe in the direction. It's like, what are we doing? We're screwing ourselves. And I'm whipped, so I'm always hanging out with a girlfriend instead of going to play songs that I don't like. And this is where I develop the alcohol problem. I start drinking way too much, and I destroy my vocal cords. So I'm having a hard time singing.
And this goes back to when, you had the air raid siren fucking vocals. So
right,
it was like,
exactly.
You couldn't do that 24/7 and drink and
I wasn't, and of course I was chain smoking at the time. I was a stupid kid. You think, oh, this is what rock stars do. Let's just do this.
So
right?
how old? Maybe mid-20s?
20
Oh,
years
my God.
old.
So
Right? I was a youngster.
Wow,
very
okay.
young at this time. Or was I 21? 20. I was 20 years old. So at any rate, as we're turning down shows, we're at a rehearsal, down the hall at the rehearsal room, a different rehearsal room. Here comes Dave Mustaine and Dave Ellefson. Hey, Dave, what's going on? Mel hates. Oh, fuck Dave. Dave's an asshole. It's like, why? Because they're getting more publicity than we are. Because they're working. So anyway, Dave comes in. He goes, guys, he says, I've got the offer of a lifetime right here for you. He says, right now. He says, we're being offered a 40-date tour. It's going to be a co-headliner for 40 dates across the U.S. We're equally billed. We'll flip-flop. One night, Megadeth opens, the other night Abattoir opens, and we're going to flip-flop it. Mel threw a shit fit. No, we're not doing that because we're going to headline every show. Who are you? Nobody cares about Megadeth. Dude, right? And Dave, of course, and Dave being the voice of reason, figure that out. Dave's like, come on, Mel, you got to calm down. Oh, fuck you, this is terrible. Dave looks at me, he tasks me, he goes, come outside, I need to talk to you. He goes, don't listen to them. I hear the door close, and I'm going outside. So I go out. He goes, dude, he says, you better convince them to do this tour right now. I said, well, yeah. I said, but why are you so imperative on this? What's happening? He goes, they're auditioning singers right now. I said, beg your pardon? He goes, if you don't get this tour, this is the last thing you will ever do with Abattoir.
Wow.
Interesting.
Dave Mustaine told you.
Dave Mustaine tells me this with Dave Ellison standing there and Jay Jones, the producer. All three of them are standing in a semicircle around me. So as we're having this conversation, I'm being thrown a cold glass of water.
I would just say, look, we're doing this or I'm fucking leaving.
Right. They said fucking leave.
Oh, shit.
Right. They said leave. So, I can't lose my gig. What am I going to do? So I stick with it for a little bit. And, of course, I do one more show and they shit-can me. So.
There's still one constant variable that's like fucking up this whole, like, Steve Gaines could be famous fucking, like,
fame
tyrant.
is a different story.
No, but I'm saying, like, successful.
Well, here's the thing.
Seems like you have, like, that fucking.
Worse is that guy could have been even more famous.
He held himself back. That's sad, dude.
Yeah, I'm going to venture off on something that has nothing to do with me, but he actually auditioned for when Cliff died, for Metallica. Turned the gig down. I don't want to. He swears up and down. He swears this to be true. Mel Sanchez. James Hetfield told me I can't be called Mel Sanchez anymore. I got to change my name to Mel Smith. Who's the bass player for Metallica right now?
Robert Trujillo?
Trujillo? Enough. So when I talk to these people, hey, dude, why are you always so bitter about Abattoir? I loved that fucking band. I do. To this day, I love that fucking band. But just like when you factor
but you constantly talk about it because it's you're constantly being interviewed about only that specific project.
Exactly.
That's just like one piece in your whole history,
Sure. So I get bounced out of that band.
Right.
And I figured, okay, fine, I'm going to start doing my own thing here now. And I've got all these songs I wrote, and I put together this band called Tactics.
Well, wait, no, that was way later.
Not really.
We're gonna get to
Not
the
really.
Bloodlust.
It was 1986.
Oh, okay. Okay. I thought you did Bloodlust, the Terminal Velocity.
There's a step.
EP.
There's a step in the process. So I put together this band called Tactics, and all the Abattoir guys. Oh yeah, Steve's doing. They went out and told everybody, I'm never going to do anything again. You'll never hear from Steve Gaines again. And that's where the resiliency comes in. The funny thing, I've had a bitterness about one of the songs they used without my permission. Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
They used a song of mine without my permission, and it's like, well, you guys didn't even run this by me, whatever. So what does it matter? You're never going to be in a band again. You're done. You're history. Wrong thing to say to a guy like me, because when somebody tells me I can't do anything, Here I am 30, how many years fucking later, 34 years later, still pissed about it. It's like, I'll show you. I'm writing another album right now.
I don't think you're pissed anymore, though. I think what it is now you've proven that you're here.
Right. So Tactics is coming together.
Right.
And we start playing, and they think, oh, this is, that's cute. Oh, Steve's trying again. So we play this. We play most of the songs that are on the first record, the Master Plan album.
Okay.
And I remember for this because Danny Oliverio was in the crowd, and I remember him, hey, buddy, what's going on? Then I can see him. Our first show ever was at the Whiskey, and I see him.
Hopefully, because he's so fucking tall.
Right.
It's like,
he's sitting up in the balcony at the Whiskey, right at the top of the stairs, looking down at me with a hate stare. The following day, I start getting hate phone messages, or following 2 days, whatever, from Mel, from Mark, from everybody. Suddenly, I'm a threat. It's like, oh shit, that band is good. And it sounds like what Abattoir's second album should have been a lot more like, right? What people were expecting. Anyway, so I keep doing that band. It imploded.
But are you playing bass in this project?
I did.
When did you start picking up the bass? Because your brother had picked it up?
Sort of. It was the first shows we did, I borrowed a bass from him. But we couldn't find a bass player. At this point in time, Billy Sheehan, David Lee Roth had just done Eat 'em and Smile. So everybody wanted to beat Billy Sheehan or Steve Harris. And look, I love watching a great bass player play, but sometimes you got to play the song. We've talked about this. My favorite bass players on earth are Cliff Williams, Ian Hill, and Peter Baltus from Accept. Just because those guys just brought thunder, and you knew they were there, and you know they're there. So, and I'm glad to see Cliff's going back to AC/DC. Let's see what happens. But that's a different story. I just wanted somebody, so we're bringing in bass players, and they're all doing, I play flat wounds, and I play with my fingers, and I...
That's great, too. If you can
That's
do
fantastic.
that.
And I say, let me see your bass here for a second. No, play more like this. I'm playing the songs, and I'm singing them. It's like, this is a no-brainer.
So you just picked it up, and off it went, dude. So
Yeah.
so now you're fronting the band and playing the instrument. So this
I
is...
started off the first couple of shows singing, but then went over to bass, because we had to sit in
This is the first time that I'm hearing that you're actually like being a front man, because now it's like you're playing an instrument and having to sing. So now you're having to put on the show without just the microphone.
Correct.
So how did you transition into that?
Well, the seed was first planted because, like I said, at the time I was a decent enough guitar player to be able to play songs. We always had Abattoir, always had extra guitars laying around in the rehearsal room. And when Juan quit, at the very first time we tried rehearsing as a 4-piece, and it was empty. This is before we thought about Dan. And I picked up this Dean Flying V, very similar to that one.
Okay.
Right? Except it was white. I pick up this guitar and I start playing it, and Mark looks at me and goes, there's the answer right there. Says, you can play it. Says, I'll do all the solos. You just play rhythm guitar like James. I don't think I can do it. So we ended up going 5-piece. But that's where it all started. But I knew I was a good enough player to be able to play bass. So I played bass and started singing. That Tactics lineup started to fall apart over stupid crap. I think it was girls and cocaine, right?
Cocaine's
and
a hell of a drug.
by this point in time, I'm so anti-drug, it's ridiculous. I was still drinking heavy at the time, but that's a different story. So it's just not working. It's just not working. Bloodlust, in the meantime, they did the record with Guy Lord. Guy didn't work out. So they're having this big comeback show, and Earl Mendenhall is playing guitar and doing lead vocals. And he calls me and goes, hey, why don't you come on down and do the song Chainsaw? He says, we're playing at the Whiskey, just come up on stage and do it. And okay, so Tactics is imploding. I show up at this Bloodlust show, and last song I get up there, and there's all the old crowd, everybody there. Place exploded. Come back into the band. So I come back into the band. And that's when we started working on the Terminal Velocity record.
Well, yeah, so it was just an EP, which kind of is sad, because in my opinion, I think my favorite
we
ever...
We talked about this? Yeah, go.
I think my favorite ever Steve Gaines song that you've sang on, as far as the 80s goes, was City of the Forgotten.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't know what the hell I was doing.
Oh, my God, dude.
Wow.
That chorus,
Thank you.
But that chorus on that is just so fucking awesome.
I have a thing. I love shout-along choruses.
It's just so catchy.
That's
why I love it. See, I've forgotten, nowhere to run. It's fucking awesome, but you still have the air raid siren, and there's a kind of like there's more meat as a singer. You had more meat on your vocals for that EP as opposed to the Abattoir record.
Right.
That's why I really
there was a lot more diverse.
That's really why I really love that specific era of Steve Gaines
in
your history is that EP because there's weight involved and. They're screaming, soaring vocals. So it's like you get the best of both worlds. If you want the best of Steve Gaines, in my opinion, I would show them the
thank you.
Bloodlust.
That's a nice compliment.
Especially that specific song because it's just so fucking metal. And I wish you guys would play that once in an Anger's art set because I really love that song.
I'm just going to put it this way: you never know. And I'm just going to leave it at that.
It's just a good song. So,
you know.
but
the one thing about that, talking about that song,
you wrote all the lyrics for it too.
Is I always had this thing, and I learned this from being into bands like Kiss and being into bands like Wasp. The shout along chorus is the whole idea that what that does is people that aren't in the band, that makes them part of the band. They're part of the choir. And it's funny because Rob Alanis calls them football choruses.
It's great.
And anything you can do to get everybody to shout along, to me, it's the greatest thing that there could ever be. Eat my diamonds, dream, right?
Yeah.
It makes you a part of Priest for a minute. Goddamn.
There's a reason why Iron Maiden's Rock in Rio is so regarded as so iconic for live shows because the crowd is so involved in their songs.
Fear of the Dark. When that crowd, I'm old enough to remember recordings when the crowd didn't sing along.
Or Hallowed Be Thy Name.
Right.
Same thing. Those are the two that like.
It's amazing. I love that crap because that's the only time I think there's such a separation between band and crowd. There shouldn't be, but there is. But that's the only time when everybody is one. And that's what I love about that, is that's when it's like, this is ours, people. We may be making the noise, but you're singing it, you're carrying it. There's a video, I think we've talked about this. There's a video of Rod Stewart back in the 70s or 80s. I think we've talked about this. He's playing at Wembley, the old Wembley Arena, or Wembley Stadium, in London, and his voice is gone. He has no vocal cords whatsoever. So the video camera is actually on the drum riser. You can see Rod, and he says to the crowd, he goes, there's no way I could have canceled the show. He says, so you guys are going to have to help me sing this. And there's video of 80,000 people singing the Rod Stewart songs to him, and he's just leading the choir.
It's awesome, dude. He's the conductor.
Much as I'm a big fan of Rod, and I am a big fan of Rod Stewart, but I would pay extra money to have watched that because you're seeing something you'll never see again. Chills.
It's like Queen.
Yeah,
Queen
it's the same
Wembley.
thing. Queen, come on. The Radio Gaga thing, for Christ's sake, the stupid clapping of the hands.
That. That's one of my favorite Queen songs ever, too, dude. Just because how I can fucking clap along and be a part of the song,
everybody a part of the song. And I think so often, a lot of times what happens with Cookie Monster vocal, where the vocals are so buried, it's like, there's nothing for the crowd to be a part of. They're just there watching. Make them a part of it.
That I definitely try to have that in my songs.
You do. It's obvious.
And we have parts where I fucking just get the crowd
that's
involved.
The name of the game. That's the name of the game. This is us together. It's not me being the rock star. This is us.
Yeah, but you can be brutal and still have people involved.
Right. Now, you can be brutal, and you say it with a grin on your face. That's the other side of the coin. I just don't. We're changing topic here, I can tell.
No, but you can have it all, though. And I slowly am proving that to people. It's like, no, you can have catchy songs, be brutal still.
Right.
Be a heavy band and still get the crowd to engage in your material.
Exactly.
Dude.
And then you get these people to do this ultra, we are evil this next song is from our, well, guys, stop that crap. And then the guys with the facial expression, and why does everybody do this? Why? Okay, we get that. I'd rather.
I do it. So
we're in this together. This is a barbecue. Oh, you want me to leave that burger? You want me to leave that burger on a little bit longer, a little bit more done? You got that. It's we're here together.
The problem,
this is a feast.
You know what the problem though that I have with like a lot of bands that do that is like this song is they're not fully engaged in the crowd. So, but if you're fully engaged in the crowd and can do that at the same time,
right?
Like that's what I try to do. So like I do. Oh, come on. Like something like fucking like shouting in their face, just getting them involved in the show. Mm-hmm. So if you can do that without compensating the the live aspect of it, like bringing people into it. If you can compensate with bringing that in and being brutal at the same time, you can do that stuff.
Yeah,
that's when I think it fits. But if you're just being brutal just to be brutal, it's not. It doesn't really hold a lot of weight for live shows.
Exactly, I agree.
Why would anybody go see you guys live if that's
I agree with you 100%. So there you are. Awesome.
But
now, where were we?
We're at the Bloodlust. So I don't know what you thought I was going to say when I brought up the City of the Forgotten.
Oh, I had no idea which song you were thinking of. I'm thinking, okay, it's one of those 4 songs on that EP. We were going to talk about the EP.
Yes.
We've talked about EPs in the past.
Yeah.
Wild Rags. Say what you will about Wild Rags. I don't necessarily have a problem with Richard because he never.
I don't know anything about Wild Rags, so that's way before my time, dude.
Story goes that he used to dupe off copies of bands' recordings and demos. It's an allegation. I don't know if it's true or not, but a lot of people have that allegation. So it didn't happen to me. I never saw it. I don't know, but I'm not gonna deny that something could have happened. Anyway, at the time,
where did you record the Bloodlust EP, if you don't mind me asking?
Crap, was it Skyline Recorders in Tobago Canyon, which I think was owned by the Moody Blues.
Oh, cool.
So there was a lot of money. There was a lot of money being there, and Richard from Wild Rags was footing the bill. And he wanted, this is what kills me, this is bands that are self-destructive. Okay, the Metal Blade thing didn't work out for Bloodlust. So Richard used to do his vinyl demo series, which was that. And so he says, yeah, I want to do a vinyl demo with Bloodlust. And we said, okay, well, let's do it more like an EP, more like an album, so it doesn't look like that. He goes, okay, fine. So I'll release it like that, like it's an EP. And we did 4 songs. And while we had the drum all still set up, Richard comes up to the studio, goes, guys, he says, can you do 4 more songs for me? Let's make a full album out of this. And the guys threw a conniption. No, we're not going to waste these songs on your shitty little pocket-operated label. And I'm thinking, the guy wants to put money into us. No one else is putting money into us right now. Frustrating. So he's pissed. Richard's really pissed off.
I hear a lot of ego in the 80s.
I don't know so much if it was ego as it was just stupidity, that this is always going to happen. This is always going to keep going. People don't realize how quickly this goes away. Oh, my God. They have no idea. So in the meantime, Richard's pissed. He releases the record. And he releases the EP, rather, which could have been a full-scale album. We had the songs for it. It would have been a full-blown album.
Did they didn't do anything with those other songs? I don't believe.
Nothing.
Too. And when I did my research, because I do research on my guests, I didn't see anything else pretty much after the EP.
Nothing, because I forgot what happened. Something happened to piss the drummer at the time, Craig Kaysen, off, and he said, "Fuck this, I'm moving back to Chicago."
Wow.
And that was the end of that. And before he left, I tried putting together another lineup of tactics with him, and it just didn't work out.
So from the, I want to finish. We'll finish the Bloodlust thing, but in the 80s, it seems like you had a lot of like what ifs. And what is the biggest one that you regret not taking?
The Megadeth tour.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. Because years later, 2002, and I think I've told you this. I mean, these are all the people that have said, "Why didn't you do this?" I started playing in a band.
But here's the thing: that's hearsay. You had to have been in that situation in order to have answered that. You know what I mean? Like they from an outside perspective, it's different. Dude.
Let me talk to you about a very good friend rubbing salt in the wound without meaning to, and that very good friend.
Are you looking at
No.
Okay.
This gets good. This is another icon in the scene here. So I start playing in a band, or it was a side project. Then I start playing in 2 bands with the guy at the same time. It's Jim Durkin. I
want to get to that later on.
In both Pagan War Machine and Dreams of Damnation, right? But when Jim and I first started hanging out, started talking about doing music, he, with this smart-ass sense of humor and this Irish grin that Jim has, he knows what I'm talking about. He goes, "By the way," he says, "I just wanted to thank you for not taking that tour." I said, "What?" He goes, "Yeah," he says, "because nobody could understand why you didn't, so Dark Angel jumped on it." And that was the infamous tour where Don had his issues or whatever. Or maybe it wasn't. I don't recall. But Dark Angel took that tour. So
you guys could have been Dark Angel.
Could have been Death Angel. Could have been Dark Angel.
You guys could have been that band, though. That's why. Okay, now it makes a lot of sense.
And I'll throw further salt in the wound. This is the one that gets me. And I somewhere on my phone, I've actually got a copy of the article. I was at the Home Savings and Loan in Arcadia, California, waiting to cash my paycheck. About a block away, Juan Garcia worked at a trophy shop. So one day we end up in the bank together. We're both in line together. And this is before cell phones, before answering machines. And dude, I got to talk to you. You know how Juan is, right? And dude, what's happening? He goes, "Some friends of mine from the Bay Area says they're looking for a singer and they're specifically asking for you." And I said, "Who?" I said, I don't want to move to the Bay Area." And he goes, "But this could be an opportunity." He says, "I can't tell you who they are. I can't tell you. I'm sworn to secrecy." But he says, whatever. And I said, "I'm not really interested in it. I don't know what to tell you." "Are you sure? You're absolutely sure?" "Yeah, I'm sure." "Okay, fine." So only about a year and a half ago, I got the final confirmation of it. It was actually Eric Peterson from Testament.
Wow.
And this is when Zetro left to join Exodus.
Wow.
Okay? Now, okay, that's the one. That's the only band. I mean, I had an offer.
See, that was in your control, though.
That was in my control. And I was just, granted, I don't think I ever would have fit, because who the hell is going to replace Chuck?
Chuck Billy, me and Andy Ford, I've seen Chuck Billy numerous times, and me and him have agreed that he's the ideal metal singer.
He is. There's no doubt about it. And if I would have gotten
He's great in anything he does, dude.
If they wouldn't have gone after Chuck and they would have settled for this Steve guy, I don't think Testament would have been Testament.
No way.
Period. There's no fucking way. You can't not have that part of the equation.
No way, dude.
So here's another one for you. Early on, when we're doing the Megadeth and Abattoir recordings together, we're at Juan Garcia's house once again. And once again, Dave and Junior come out to the front yard. Hey, come here. We want to talk to you for a second. Says, hey, man, we've been looking for a singer. So we want to know if you would be interested in this. Megadeth, right?
Steve, what's wrong with you? Why are you
No.
in my garage
This
right
one,
now?
this one, I feel good about it. This one, I actually feel good about it. I said, Dave, I'm really flattered about that. I said, but if I'm being honest with you, there's nothing for a vocalist to do in that band. It's mostly guitars and instrumental. I said, I would be standing there like a bump on a log. I don't know that I could really contribute to your band well.
I think Dave's a perfect singer for that.
Yeah, can you imagine Megadeth without Dave,
No.
right? So he looks at me, and the way that only Dave can say it, he looks at me and goes, he says, I figured you would say something exactly like that. He says, but the day will come when you regret it. Honestly, I don't, because I wouldn't have fit. I know I wouldn't have fit.
Megadeth wouldn't have been Megadeth, though.
Yeah, but there was that, right? There was that opportunity. So there's a couple of opportunities that have gone by. It would have been interesting to go talk to Testament. It never would have happened.
It's funny that you never auditioned for Heretic either, or any of those guys.
I did.
Oh, you did?
I did, and this is right when my voice was hammered. This is when Mike Towers went over to Abattoir.
Or Mike Torres.
Again, there's the name thing, right? Hey, I just recently got back in contact with Mike. He and I are talking a lot online now. So
really?
It's interesting in that all the former Abattoir members all get along famously. There was one instance, it was a birthday party. It was my birthday party,
besides
come think of it.
the one
Besides the one guy. But we had, I think, 7 or 8 Abattoir members, different singers, different guitar players, different drummers. Everybody's laughing, telling stories. It's great. And we're thinking the one common denominator, if he was here, would destroy this. And now Mike, who's living in Indiana, it's like, Mike, come hang out. We're going to barbecue.
Oh, so Mike, the original Heretic vocalist,
correct,
pretty much lives in
Indiana someplace. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, Midwest. So
he actually did the what is it, Metal Massacre 7? Wasn't he on
with
Metal
Heretic? Correct. Yeah.
He did the one song and then
yeah, Impulse.
Yeah,
Impulse.
It's
So
great. I love his vocals though.
Oh, he had a great voice. Yeah.
With when he was on The Only Safe Place, I loved his vocals on Hammer of the Gods. Oh man, that song rules, dude.
It does. It really does. And with all due respect to Mike, you should have. That's the only thing that John Cyrus ever did right, was write those lyrics and the melody that he had for that song. No. I mean, meaning Mike wrote words that you heard on the album.
Right.
You should have heard what John had for it. And that was when we were doing the song live, when I was in the band. I did it exact. And I was fine. Give John the credit for it. This is fantastic. And it was all of his stuff that he later wrote about in Agent Steel. That was the best thing he ever wrote. It was just phenomenal. And I'm including the Agent Steel stuff.
Wow. So
good stories.
Let's get back to
let's get back on track.
The Bloodlust.
Okay.
I think I was asking you what it was like to record in that studio.
Yeah.
And then Wild Rags picked it up, and it was going to be like a full length. You guys only wanted to do 4 songs, and then the band implodes.
It was just kind of, the band had been working at it for a long time. The thing was, the writing was on the wall. I mean, there was no creativity. New songs, everything was a fight. Meaning not a fight, but it wasn't working correctly. So the new songs weren't flowing. There was no good chemistry. The chemistry was gone, and people were saying to us, there were longtime fans, something's wrong, guys. It's not working, and we all knew it. So it was time to go.
So then, what made you want to revisit the Tactic band? Because that was the next project after.
It's where my heart was. That kind of music. Again, it was back to because Bloodlust was getting a lot more, I don't want to call it prog, but a lot more of the GIT kind of a thing. Became very much a guitar histrionic show, which is fantastic. It got away from the song structure.
More like a more jammy kind of
right,
band.
And it was fantastic. But then
more technical, more this, more that.
Okay. Right. But I had all those songs that ended up on that thing there, and so I said, okay, let's put together another Tactics lineup. And the initial lineup involved Craig Kaysen, who was the drummer for Bloodlust,
Okay.
Right? And also the guitar player, vocalist for Damn the Machine with Chris Poland was a guy named Dave Clemens.
Okay.
If you look close, he's actually in that video.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
So, I mean, there are always some big name guys and whatever. Yeah. Oh, gosh. Holy smokes. Look at that. Look at how young they were. Oh, and talk about people that came through.
What the fuck is up with that look, though, dude? He's just like...
Dude, I used to be handsome. What the fuck happened? It's all over now. God, something happens. You get old and you turn into an old dog.
Hey, I just let you call it, man. I'm not saying anything.
Just wait, bro. You're not too far behind me.
I don't want to even think about that.
The big guy in this band.
That's why you got to take advantage of it right when it's happening to you.
The guy in this particular lineup that I got to give the biggest shout out to, in the second Tactics lineup, is a guitar player named Sin Kirin.
Yeah, I have yet to meet him.
Sweetest guy.
He went on to Ministry.
He went through a bunch of different bands. He is now like the right-hand man for Al Jorgensen in Ministry.
Yeah.
And he's got another band now called Three-Headed Snake that's playing... Are they playing Bloodstock or are they playing... They're doing one of the European festivals. At any rate, though, he's got 1,000,001 things going on. Sweetest guy. I would do anything for this guy. It's funny because it's at the point for Sin, and I think he knows this, and we've done this actually for each other without going into detail. The measure of a friend is not who goes to my gig, it's who is there when I need them. There have been instances where, hey, dude, I need you. He's there. There's same thing, vice versa. Hey, I need you, and I'm on the way. Give me 20 minutes. I'll be there. Or
you are definitely that kind of guy. That's why I appreciate you.
Right, and it's just that. He's just that kind of a guy. We rode that band he came in 1989, which is when the second time the band got together. And we rode it out all the way till 1999. So 9.5 years, basically. And we just knew. He's like, okay, we've gone as far as we can go, and nothing's happening. Everything was getting into nu metal at that time. We made a terrible effort to try and get into that, and yeah.
Well, but so this project was independent too. It wasn't like it was signed to like a label or anything. You guys did this independently.
We were going after Restless, then Restless folded. We actually, what was the label that Stryper was with, for Christ's sake? This was one of the only times my brother ever did anything for me. Enigma Records. Enigma was, hey, dude, we want you guys. We want you. Now, listen, man, I'm going to be leaving the company this week. I'm going to hand this off to the next guy, right? So call him on Monday. I call him on Monday. Yeah, he told me all about you. Let's talk. No. I'll call you back this week. He calls me back on Thursday. Hey, man, I'm leaving the company. He says, but I'm going to hand it off to this next guy. Next guy. Yeah, they told me about you and whatever. Enigma was contracting. Enigma was folding. So that was that. Then we bounced over a possibility with Restless. Then there was a possibility with a subsidiary of Warner Brothers. So we were just like, let's put money into this. Let's make things happen. We spent more time on the road, and I learned more from that band than I did my entire career, because I was like, that's where you get, like you guys are doing. That's where, let's pack up the car, let's go on tour. Let's not wait for things to happen. Let's go make things happen.
Right. Let's create those opportunities.
Right. And we weren't losing money. We were making money. I mean, by the time you pay the gas bills and stuff like that, you end up with maybe, for your week's long worth of effort, once you pay all the bills, you got $20 in your pocket. Not a bad vacation.
Not bad. Not bad at all.
You come out slightly in the positive.
And speaking of creating opportunities, I definitely did want to get into that topic that we were talking about off the air. Where was the podcasting thing?
Oh, yeah.
Because I love doing the podcast.
Oh, sure.
And I love that people are enjoying it.
Sure.
I always have put my foot down when it comes to, like, I don't want to be the only one doing this kind of thing. Because I feel I would love to go on somebody else's podcast and talk about stuff too. You know, although I love having my own show, it's great.
Of course, yeah.
But those opportunities where I can get out of the house and go to somebody else's and do a podcast.
Yeah. I would love to do something like that. I
but
just don't have the time.
You have
to
create that opportunity, right?
Exactly.
Like what I've created for myself in the scene, and I really feel the scene could benefit from other people like myself creating opportunities like this. Don't you feel, or no?
I do. I absolutely do, and
like
it was
to
a point
do the
that
dirty
was proven.
work, dude. And
before you started getting involved with Andy, I was going on with Andy maybe every 9-10 months or whatever the case may be. And
I still don't know why he chose me, but you know what? I'm happy that he chose me.
Because you're a good dude.
Thank you.
And you're a pro at what you do.
But no, I put in the work. I never said I was good at it. I just said I enjoy doing it. There's a difference, dude.
There is. So it was that kind of idea. It was like,
man.
I thought about, damn, could I do this? Because there's also some other, in addition to Razor Radio, there's some other companies.
You could. You would be a great fucking host on a podcast.
The problem is I would talk over people, and I would.
Not if you had the right guest. You're not talking over me.
Oh, you'd be surprised. Let's listen back.
I'm talking over you. That's my issue.
But that's okay. That's okay because it's your show. You got to drive the drive the car.
It'd be your show too. That'd be okay because you got to drive the car somewhere.
So to test the waters, though, I did this thing where you can go on Facebook Live, and I figured I really
you're
realized
great at that stuff, dude.
People will watch anything. It goes back to that Seinfeld thing. It's like, why are people watching it? Because it's on TV, and it was such a joke to me. It's like, but yeah, people are easily led down a road if there's something happening. I don't know if you saw this the other day on Facebook. I went live because I was sitting at my desk bored with a bottle of water, and I'm trying to twist it and trying to make it right, and I keep knocking it over to make it all kind. And people are watching it. Are you bored? Yeah, is it obvious? But here's the bigger thing. You guys are watching this because you're bored too. So when I was testing the waters, thinking, do I have anything to talk about? I started watching Sin when Sin was on tour with Ministry. He would go Facebook Live, and he'd sit there in his hotel room, and he would talk about, say, here's what I'm doing. Just ask me questions, and I'll answer them. I started doing this stupid thing called walking in L.A.
No, I loved that, though.
If you recall.
You know why I loved it was because it was you were being Steve. And I like watching Steve be Steve.
Right, but I get to work so early in the morning that, so it's basically 5 o'clock in the morning. It's 8 o'clock on the East Coast.
Right.
So everybody's already where they're going to be, whatever. Our friends that are in Puerto Rico, people in Europe, it's the middle of the day, and they're all watching me walk. It's like, ask me any question you want. And I'm like, hey, look, man, there's the Arco Towers. Hey, look, there's the Bonaventure, such and such. Just talk about stupid crap. And it's like, if there was actually somebody to physically talk to, it'd be okay. I did that, and then I stopped taking the train. I started driving to work again, and that's when it all fell off. But it proved that it could be done.
So I just want to throw it out there. I just wish that other people created opportunities within our community.
Sure.
That would benefit more than just yourself.
If you got something to say, some experience that could help some youngsters, whatever, bring it, man. Because, look, the day is going to come when this all goes away, and what did you contribute other than your music and other than trying to get people to buy your product?
Well, the thing that's going to scare the shit out of me is once the old guard goes away, they're just going to recycle the old guard and make them all holograms, and that scares the shit out of me as a younger band, right?
Yeah.
Imagine the bands that are coming up now, dude.
Yeah, I know. And they were actually talking about that.
And hopefully it fails miserably. I've heard it is, so... I've heard it's failing. Like,
I would much rather see Wendy Dio put her effort into the DVD she's doing, or the biography of Ronnie's life. I want to see that. I don't want to see a hologram. With all due respect to her and them.
Maybe it's because I've seen Dio. So
yeah,
let's hear the story. It could be different for the next generation who never got to see it.
Exactly.
But you don't need to do a hologram. No. Come on, dude.
No, but some people are doing it, and some people dig it. And who am I to tell people? I don't. It's
going to ruin metal as we know it because everything's going to be recycled.
Right.
There's going to be a Steve Gaines hologram from you in the 80s.
And nobody's going to watch it.
That's my point, though. Why not see, like, the real thing instead of, like, a hologram?
Yeah. I mean, if it's gone, it's gone. They talked about, you probably heard this, when Glenn got too sick to go on tour with Priest, they said, well, how about if we just run tracks through the PA and you just get out there and fake it? It's like, no. That was actually one of the ideas. I don't know if management said that or whatever. There's just no way. It would be so... It's just wrong. I got to see the guy play I got to see a lot of people play when they were alive. And,
I got to see the fucking Painkiller lineup for fucking 10 years, dude.
Yeah.
First show I went to, Priest and Queensryche.
Yikes. I remember that.
Irvine Meadows, yeah.
Yep. And the following
2005 or 2006?
July 8th or July 7th, 2005. Because the following day we played at Anger Art played at Thrash Against Cancer in the Bay Area with Testament, with who the hell else? A bunch of other bands. Agent Steel, bunch of other. God.
So let's get back to let's get back on track, whatever. Now that I've already ranted and raved about creating opportunities for this community, which
create them. If you got an idea, create them.
See it through, man. If you need help, I'm always here.
Yeah.
But anyway, so you record the master plan. Tell me more about that specific recording, though, of how you actually recorded the master plan for Tactics.
How and what exactly, other than
the recording process? I know you guys did it yourselves.
Yeah, we did it at a place called Present Time Recorders in Burbank. The owner of that studio actually was the bass player for the Strawberry Alarm Clock.
Okay.
So he was telling all kinds of stories from the 60s and pop and drugs and psychedelics and shit like that. So that was kind of interesting to hear how things used to be. But it was just the idea. It's like, we're going to go in and we're going to record 8 songs. Was it 8 or was it 9? It was 9 songs. And we're just going to do this because we're going to do that. That way, if and when the labels come calling, we have a record in the can. And then we realized, well, let's just release this thing because nobody's calling.
Now, how did you release a record back in the day without the internet?
Cassettes.
On your own.
Cassettes, you just tell people, you make flyers, you go hand out at shows, you hand out the flyers, hey, we got these things, you can buy them at our show. And that's how it went.
Just so no promotion because you didn't have anything.
You didn't have any, yeah. But there were magazines at the time, but magazines at the time were still print magazines. You know, you'd write things, you would hear about it 3 months later. And in fact, Sherman was talking about that in his interview. I recall that's the way it used to be. That's why news was always late in magazines. You'd get an interview from somebody who passed away already, but you're getting a current interview. Amazing. Different time. Everything is instantaneous with the internet now. It's crazy.
It's amazing.
Makes people lazy.
It does. It's a double-edged sword for sure.
Very.
So after Tactics pretty much, kind of folded, you had 2 projects within the same year.
I did. What were they? I know one.
You had Pagan War Machine and you had Dreams of Damnation. So you were working, according to Metal Archives, it was 2002. So you were doing these 2 simultaneously together. I know Dreams is Jim Durkin's project,
right?
But you were a part of it in the same time in doing Dreams of Pagan War Machine.
There's a gap there that's got to be filled. In 1999, we had an Abattoir reunion, and that's where I swung over, started playing bass, and Mel was playing guitar. And we did an album as a 4-piece. But the drummer at the time, Mel selected him. Mel wanted to record the album with him or nobody. And we started recording, I'll go on this, we started recording the album with Bernie from Agent Steel. And it sounded really freaking good. I've still got copies of it. The files are available online and stuff like that. But at any rate, though, everybody, I don't know, Bernie, Bernie had someplace he needed to be one day. He had to cut a session short, and that pissed everybody off. So we started over. Anyway, started recording it with the drummer, a guy named Kevin McShane, and Kevin was doing the recording. And this was about the 4th attempt to start recording this comeback album. So all the fire was gone. The song sounded very uninspired. And I did all of my bass tracks, all of my vocal tracks, some of the guitar tracks. Mark did all of his, Kevin did all of his drums, and we were waiting on Mel for 18 months.
Wow.
Now, I'll make it worse. Mel and Kevin lived in the same house, and the studio was in the house.
Would his dad get mad at him or something?
Oh, fuck Kevin. I don't like him. He's an asshole.
Oh, because I thought he was going to use the same excuse from the 80s, like, oh, no, my dad would.
It was like that. I don't know why the guy was so self-destructive. It's like, dude, we're sitting here waiting, and then Mel would always go, if you guys don't like it, I'm going to quit the band. Finally, there was something, everything came to a head one day.
God, he should just quit already. That's what it sounds like to me.
And I kept telling him, I kept telling all the guys, I kept saying, look, man, sooner or later we got to call his bluff. He says, make him quit. And he quit. And remember, he says, I quit. Everybody get their shit out of my house. That's another thing. I cannot stand band rehearsals at one member's house because they control everything then. If they're in a bad mood, everybody's got to go home. You're not getting any work done. That's a different story. So where are we? So we start doing this record, and
how can you be in a bad mood having band practice? You're making
I
music.
mean, you can't. Maybe not in the best mood. Maybe it's redundant and it's whatever. And it's like, God, we're really woodshedding here, and this is a hard rehearsal, and blah blah blah. So Kevin, in the process of doing this, he's incessant tinkerer. Decided to take everything from one hard drive to another, not knowing what he was doing, one track at a time on 48 tracks, erased 48 tracks. 1, transferred. 2, transferred 48 tracks. Gone.
Wow.
And in the midst of that, this is when Mel threw his tantrum and said, I'm going to quit, man. You guys need to get your stuff out of here. We had a big band meeting on Mel's front porch at his house. And I told him, I said, look, guys, I'm done. Huh? I said, I don't want to bail out of this. I want to do this, but I'm tired of the bullshit. So here's what I want. I want you guys to finish this record. My parts have been done for 18 months. In the meantime, I'm going to be working with Jim on these 2 bands. And those 2 bands were, of course, Pagan and Dreams of Damnation. Plus, I had a Motorhead tribute band at the time called Lemmy's Wart. And at the same time,
that's the greatest fucking Motorhead tribute band name I've ever heard,
dude. It was a
dude.
really, really good band. That was a lot of fun. And then at the same time, Bitch was starting to get back together, and that's when I was going to come in and start playing bass for Bitch.
Okay, yeah. So you obviously got ties to all this because it's all
It's
LA.
all the Metal Blades.
It's all
well,
LA.
it's more the Metal Blade story, but yeah, all the ties through all those people.
Well, I'm just saying it's all LA based. So
very much so.
Everyone's kind of connected a little bit there. So, how did you form Pagan War Machine? Because Dreams was already a band.
Dreams was already a band. I had gone to see them, and you say, "Hey, Jim, hey, what's going on?" kind of thing. We go see them. Got to know Charlie. Got to know Al real well, their drummer, and was going and seeing them play, supporting him, doing all this crap. So one day it was somebody's birthday party. I think it was they brought in a singer, Luana Valencia, right? And it was her birthday party. Hey, we're gonna have a birthday party for Luana, and also this guy who they met, a guy named Marcelo Lima, who I didn't know. So anyway, they show up and show up at this birthday party, and this is the first time I've ever gone over to Jim's house. He's got his recording studio in his house and his band rehearsal room out in the back. Says, bring the Abattoir guys over, we'll have fun, we'll have barbecue, we'll do this, that, the other thing. We have a great time. So, Jim's showing me all of his stuff. He's showing me what he's recording with Dreams of Damnation. I loved that fucking band. I thought, I'm going to piss every Dark Angel fan off. And I'm going to say, I think the stuff that he wrote with Dreams and also Pagan War Machine was so much better than Dark Angel. That's just me. It has nothing to do with me being involved, but the riffs were just so much more,
and that's
so
okay.
much better.
I just love Dark Angel, so it plays no effect into what...
Right. Having said that, that's why I'm anxious to see what, if they ever get their comeback record done, I'm anxious to see what it'll be, because I know where Jim's writing was 15 years ago.
I wonder where that's going to be, too. I forgot about that.
Very, very interesting. So anyway, he's playing all the Dreams Damnation stuff, and then he says, here's something else I want you to hear. And he plays a song that ended up being called The Swarm later, and this riff is Jim, it's still the best riff you ever wrote, a song called The Swarm. And I heard this, and all it is a drum machine and guitars. And that's all it is. I'm listening to this go, what the fuck? I'm like that Judas Priest video. What the fuck are we listening to? I said, what is this? He goes, it's too commercial, it's too melodic for Dreams Damnation. He says, I can't do anything with this. I said, of course you can. I said, listen. I start going immediately. I'm hearing melodies, and I'm hearing like a call and answer off that. So he goes, you can come up with something? I said, yeah. He goes, can you sing it? Would you mind recording? I said, yeah, sure. So I came down the following week, brought my bass with me. Band was formed that afternoon. We had a song recorded that day, and it's the same recording you hear to this day that's still available online. And it was the greatest thing he had ever done, and it was... I'm not going to say that Abattoir didn't, but in this Abattoir reunion, I really wanted to push it towards being a lot more aggressive. And we just couldn't break out of that mold because Abattoir is forever going to be in a box. Dreams Damnation, Pagan War Machine was not in that box. It's like there is the hyper speed, there is the hyper aggressiveness, and there's the hyper melodic.
And there's the seed that planted Anger's art because you weren't in a box. So that was kind of the seed where, okay.
And that's where it grew. But because Dreams was the primary thing. Now, here's what happened. As we're putting this Pagan War Machine band together, I was sick one time.
And you had no hair then, too. So
I had a shaved head. Yeah, I still have no hair. That's a different story.
Well, no, but what was because you were going bald or something? So
No,
you just wanted to shave it all off?
It had to do with my mom being sick. My mom had cancer. And
that's all. Okay.
So, she wanted to see her son with short hair one more time. So, okay, I did that. And I started shaving my head for a while. That's what that was all about. So, we start putting this band together, and one day I was sick, and Jim sent over, he said, here, work on these songs, work on this, and a couple of the other demos that were copied on there were Dreams Damnation songs. So I just pick up my guitar, and I start playing along with them. Next time I get together with them, I'm hanging out at a Dreams Damnation rehearsal. Other guitar amp, other guitar there. And I said, hey, just for a goof, I said, I know how to play this song. I said, watch me. I said, I just sat and learned that Citizen, because he was talking about one person whose name I'm not going to mention.
Right.
You're going to close the door.
No.
Okay. Well, he's talking about one person whose name I will not mention for fear of protecting the innocent. And he says, this guy couldn't learn the song. I said, this song's fucking easy. I can learn this. So I forget which one it was. I said, but I just sat down and I learned it, and I sat in and played with him. And I played this, and I said, I learned the other one that's on here too. I played 2 songs with him that day. And anyway, all right, guys, I got to go later. So the following day, we want you to come back and be our second guitar player. It happened by accident. I was just goofing around, and that's where I finally said, okay, I'm going to make this transition from bass over to guitar. Because now I finally figured out how to play.
And you knew, okay, but you had been playing obviously years prior to.
Oh yeah,
to
recording,
that, so,
but nothing live. Never anything live.
And did you ever use a click track on any of the previous records?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. And the ones that did have click tracks, very few of them. How do I put this? I'm not happy with the results. They sound sterile.
Okay.
They don't have a natural flow to them. Now, that's not reflective of any one of the drummers who play to a click. It's just I've got this thing where to me it sounds better if It's got a natural flow to it. Sometimes you have to fix things and whatever and slow tracks down or speed them up or whatever the case because the tempo changes. But I don't know how much of a fan of click tracks I am until you're mixing.
Yeah. Until it's not on a grid and you have to go, oh, fuck, where's, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's a different story. So that's where Pagan and Dreams Damnation came in. But
and you recorded a couple demos with them too. No full lengths that I could find. Just maybe an EP and a couple demos.
Right, correct. And there was the chance to do all kinds of things. There was the response to the Pagan War Machine was so quick and so responsive. It's like, okay, there's a market for this kind of music, and I always wanted to do it. But it was starting to take away the attention from Dreams Damnation. So obviously the priority to everybody else that's involved in that, and sadly enough, I was already involved with that. That became the priority, and Pagan was shelved. So I was like, we'll get back to it one of these days. So playing.
Are you ever going to get back with that?
Well, I've done 6 albums with Pagan War Machine.
Oh, that'd be a no. And obviously he's with Dark Angel, so that would be a no.
So no, the short answer is then Dreams Damnation ran its course, which I'm sure we'll get into. But when that ended, it was like, okay, I want to put Pagan War Machine back together. But it was obvious Jim wasn't going to be involved. The initial lineup was the drummer and the guitar player. I was going to play bass and sing, and we were going to call it Pagan War Machine, and it was the song New War, which is on the first Anger is Art record. And I realized that none of the guys wanted to follow through with it. And later Mars came in, and Mars decided, hey, let's put a band together. And that became Anger is Art. Anger is Art was formed out of Pagan War Machine.
Wow.
And that's why to me, in my head, in my mind, there's no difference other than the band name, because that was the same style. It's like, this is what I've always wanted to do. And I can't get out of it now. I love doing this. That's
why
where it's
would
at.
you want to? You've done 6 records with it already.
Exactly.
Which I greatly appreciate you bringing over a couple of them
Sure.
for me that I didn't have in my collection. So thank you very much for that. So let's get into.
Sure.
You recorded the first record, or you released the first record twice.
Yes.
One with just Steve Gaines, so you didn't really have a name for this
Right,
project. It was just Steve Gaines, and then the
Well,
album
this is
was called Anger is Art.
Right. This is how it was called. The album was called Anger is Art based on the song title. And because there's a song, of course, called Anger is Art. And I didn't, I thought, this is it. Okay, I'm done with this crack. I'm done with dealing with people and all this. I'm done. I just want to do this one last, because I had written all of these songs. Songs were for Dreams Damnation. Songs were for Pagan War Machine. Songs were for Abattoir. And if I'm not mistaken, at least one of them was for Bloodlust.
Okay.
And it's like, all right, I'm just going to do these last songs because I've already got them half demoed. I got the drum machine programmed. Let me just record them and be done with it. And I'm going to walk away from music forever. This is still pre-internet, pre-file sharing.
Okay.
So this was still hard discs being printed. So I start burning copies. Hey, I need some more copies. Hey, I want a copy. I want a copy. I ended up doing like 2,000 or 2,500 of those things out of my house, out of my home computer, just pressing and sending. And it's like, we should put a band together. I don't know. I think I'm done with that. And as soon as I'm starting to thinking, will a band exist? That's when Mars said, hey, says, a lot of people are responding to this. You wanted to put a band together. Let's put a band together. And that's where Anger is Art was born.
So after the initial first record, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who were the first people besides Mars that you actually wanted to be a part of this project? Like, who did you want to be in it?
Mars, Marcelo Lima, and myself. And there was going to be... God, we were initially talking about a guitar player. There was a guy named Johnny Rott. John Castle is his real name. But he was going to get involved in this. He was a promoter. He worked with both Dreams and Pagan War Machine. And he was really into the style. And that's the kind of music I want to do. That's what I want to do. So we were going to do this, and I was going to play bass. He was going to play guitar. Or was it vice versa? Yeah, I was going to play bass in this thing. The day before the first rehearsal, Marcelo calls me. He goes, dude, he says, I just don't have the time to do this. I can't do this. Because I was laboring, long term, do I want to play guitar? Do I want to play bass? He says, I'm very particular about both of them. So when Marcelo tapped out, he said, okay, fine, I'm switching over to guitar. So I called Mars and said, hey, man, I said, Marcelo's not going to make it. He goes, my buddy Javier wants to come down and jam with us, who became the first bass player for Anger is Art. And that's how it happened. Then we had Johnny Rott. Johnny didn't last. He was... I don't think he was quite as focused as he needed to be on what was involved.
And now were these players much younger than you, or
same age?
Oh, same age.
Same age group, give or take a year. So yeah, old farts. right?
Old farts in a new band, I guess. I don't know.
Exactly. So we start playing, we start putting it together, and John steps away, and then we start playing for a bit as a three-piece band. I'm doing the solos and everything, and I had known William Rustrom since forever. He played guitar in Hangar 18, and I had sat in with Hangar 18 as their bass player a couple times. So I went to go see them play at the Galaxy. And where I was at in the crowd, I watched him way up in that front point of the stage.
And this is before the makeover, too.
Correct. Yes.
Obviously, this is way before the Observatory.
I've never even been in the place since it's been the Observatory.
It's great, dude.
Yo, I know it's
fucking
fantastic.
great.
Yeah, they finally.
They opened up that pad. There's a new patio area, too. I'm like,
all of that. And the
why
toilets,
did they have
the
that?
toilets flush and all kinds of good stuff. Yeah.
It's clean.
Important stuff.
And there's two venues there.
Yeah,
now,
there's the small room and the big room.
And they still treat you like
they always did.
Like family almost. It's great, dude.
Greatest story. Remember where we're at. It's Hold Our Place. The greatest story ever of playing at the Galaxy Theater or the Observatory, whatever you want to call it. We were playing with Saxon. This is Anger's Art playing with Saxon. And it's before load in, and we're kind of sitting out in the parking lot, whatever. Saxon's in the back. They've got their RV back there or whatever. Is it a bus or an RV? I forget what it is. But, watching them kind of go, hey, look, man. Doug Scarrett was a sweet, nice guy. What's his face? The bass player, whose name escapes me at the moment. Gosh, dang it. One of my favorite bass players on earth, too. Any rate, we're watching them walk around. Hey, there's Paul Quinn. Hey, there's Nigel Glocker. Hey, there's Biff. Right on. It's Saxon. This is cool. So as I'm sitting there, I'm talking to somebody. Corner of my eye, I start seeing the basketball bouncing off the goalpost. And I start seeing it, and I start realizing it's a long, silver, long-haired guy shooting hoops. Dude, it's Biff
playing basketball.
And me, I've been a basketball player my whole freaking life. It's a metaphor. It's like, oh, fuck. And my wife goes, don't do it. You'll hurt him. You're sitting right next to him. You're going to hurt that guy. He's older than you. It's like, but I got to play ball with Biff. Anyway, he stops shooting ball and goes back in the van.
Aww.
So later on, when I finally get to meet him, sweetest guy, and if you've ever met Biff, I'm sure you have, just the sweetest guy you're ever going to want to meet.
I love Saxon, dude.
Don't we all? They're just that band. I'm shaking his hand and say, hey, it's real nice to meet you. I said, by the way, earlier, I saw you shooting hoops out in the back there. I so wanted to come over and shoot hoops with you. He looked me square in the eye with that accent. He goes, you're an American, mate. He said, you would have kicked my ass. Greatest story ever. Anyway, back to where we were.
So we're that's a great story because they do have that basketball hoop it's still there.
Yeah.
No, even with the remodeling, they just left that, so it's still there.
It's there. It serves a good purpose.
It does, dude. It does for all the bands. I can tell you that much. So we were at Hangar 18 at the Galaxy. This is well before the makeover of how it transformed into the Observatory.
Right.
So where are we?
I'm watching William play, and I realize, okay, he had gone from being kind of a jokester and whatever, and a guitar guy, and I'm watching him do Mustaine's role, and I'm like, oh shit, because I always had this idea that the band should always have more than one vocalist, and nobody likes that idea. I love that. It's Kiss, the Beatles, and Anger's Art. Nobody else does what we do. So
and Exhumed, but it's okay.
Well, that's true, but they do it in a little bit of a different way.
Yeah.
But God, I love Exhumed. That's a whole different story. You got more hours to burn.
I love it. I love Exhumed, and I'm big fan of Matt Harvey. So yep.
When you bring in Matt for an interview, can I just sit over there and watch?
Sure, dude. If Matt Harvey actually wants to come on the show, I would love to have him.
Oh, damn.
That would be a good idea, dude. You planted that seed. I'm gonna use that now.
Well, you know what? Do it.
I should hit up Matt Harvey and see if he wants to do an interview.
Yeah, because we've communicated so many times. It's funny. Early on, when he and I first got to know each other, he mentioned something about being a big Abattoir fan, how they were an influence on Exhumed or something to that effect. I'm thinking, how could that be? I mean, Jesus. I mean, Exhumed became Exhumed, and Abattoir was this. But
you just never know, man.
But it's just one of those
stranger things have happened. I can tell you that much. I have some stories for you.
So if you bring Matt down, if he doesn't mind having somebody tag along and be a fanboy, I'm going to be like that time.
Dude, that would be. It would be cool if I can get both you guys and
let's do it.
That would be
great.
Sweet.
It would end up
Matt
being.
Harvey, I'm going to hit you up
right,
after this interview is over, and we'll give you something.
So here's what it's going to end up happening. It's that time that on Howard Stern when Ozzy Osbourne was on with Paul McCartney and Ozzy looking at Paul, I love you, Paul. Fanboy moment. Anyway, back to it.
Great.
Let's get serious.
That's great, though, dude. It's. I think it's very important for like these big name guys to still be fans of what the genre that they're in.
You have to be, and that's the whole thing about when I see guys that are in bands that'll actually go into the crowd and watch a band play as opposed to be too cool for the room and hang out at the back.
Dude, like if I ever met Herb Albert, I'd be like, oh fuck, dude! Like it's Herb Albert. Oh my god,
that's some serious heavyweight shit.
Like that, that's just because I'm a music fan. But I love like you have to be a fan at the end of the day. Like if I met Halford, I'd be like, oh my God, it's Rob Halford.
I make the joke that the reason why I was born is because of Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass. That album, Whipped Cream and Other Delights.
Good one.
I think
I like Going Places. That's a great one.
I think my folks got that album, and 9 months later, and I give my dad a hard time about that all the time. He goes, no.
Well, you guys are going places, right?
Well, we'll see. Anyway, back to it. Where were we?
We were talking about how you should have two vocalists
Yes.
for bands and such.
So put the offer out. Can't even speak. Put the offer out to William, and William came in, and that was the first band first lineup that ever played a live show.
Wow. And this was 2000 and what?
2005, early 2005. The band started. I always say that the band started on June 6, 2004. We just passed our 15th birthday a couple days ago.
Congratulations, man.
Thank you. And that was because the band I was on tour with, who shall remain nameless, imploded on tour in Cleveland, Ohio.
Okay.
And while I was sitting in a hotel room, couldn't get a flight out for 2 days, I'm sitting there staring out the window on a rainy day going, okay, what do I want to do? I said, I'm at least going to record these songs and see what happens. And that's when Angry
Those are the best moments, dude. It's like, I'm just gonna see what happens.
At the lowest moment, if you can turn it into creativity, if you can turn that anger into a form of art, shocker.
Like when I lost my whole band, I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to at least
What are you gonna
finish
do?
out these shows and see what happens.
Yeah. Exactly.
And then that's I'm here today still.
There you go.
But those are the defining moments for bands, dude. And
they let
for
you know what
people,
you're made
dude.
of. And that goes back to, once again, it's like, that's one thing I've always respected about you is, yes, you're dependent on your guys, but you're also not dependent on your guys. You can do this all yourself if you have to.
Well, I've also,
not that you want to, but yes.
No, but I also have other avenues that I've created for myself
Sure.
that I enjoy doing just as much. So
Absolutely.
if the band thing doesn't work out, I still love doing this. So it's like,
Sure.
you know what I mean? Like I didn't want to. I learned my lesson like a year or two ago, where I'm not going to put all my eggs in one basket anymore.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I learned that from from my buddy John Keeble. So big shout out to him.
Hey,
so.
yeah, talk about a sharp dude.
Yeah.
I got a John Keeble story.
Oh, okay, cool. What do you got?
Early Anger's Art Show. In fact, it's 2004. And we're playing at Tap Daddy's out in Hemet or San Jacinto, whatever it's called.
Okay.
And, okay, so we're headlining the show. Ooh, boy, this is great. It means we're playing last on a Thursday night. So I show up there, and who are these bands? Who is this Warbringer band? Oh, they're these youngsters. They're really, really good. And everybody tells us that. Okay, fine. So I show up in the parking lot, and I give John shit about this all the time whenever I see him. Or not shit, but I reminisce. Show up in the parking lot and getting gear out of the truck, and there's this skinny little kid leaning up against a vehicle. And he's that smiling look on his face like, hey, I recognize that guy, kind of a thing. And I'm going, why is this guy staring at me? He walks up, meek as can possibly be, and says, excuse me, sir? I said, yeah. He goes, my name is John, and I play in this band called Warbringer. He says, I just want to say what a big influence you were. He says, you're the reason, one of the reasons why I do what I do. Oh, that's great. That's very nice. Thank you very much, right? I said, so tell me about your band. He tells me, we're this way, we're just starting to play out, and da-da-da-da-da. I said, okay. I said, well, are you going to be inside? I got to get my gear inside. You're going to watch us? You're going to watch our set? He goes, no. He says, I'm under 21. I can't be inside. Right? Painful. Okay, so I figured, okay, well, this kid, what a sweet kid. Okay, I'm going to sit here. I'm going to watch his band play. And their bass player at the time, something happened to the input jack on his bass. He couldn't play. He had no signal, so they played without their bass player. And I watched this as, let's see how these kids are going to be. And then he asked me later, one of the things he said beforehand, he says, hey, afterwards, he says, watch us play. He says, if you got some advice you can give me, just let me know. So I saw him afterwards. I said, I've got no advice I can give you, dude. You're already there.
It's awesome, dude.
And he says, Century Media and Metal Blade are fighting over us right now. And they went with Century Media, of course. And that all happened just that quick. So of all those bands that came out of that era, I've always had the most respect for them. And maybe it's my own ego, I hope not. But I always thought they had the better songs. And their presentation. And then I watched him a year or so later when he actually got his feet under him and really became what he was. What a fucking front man.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I've always liked John Keeble.
Very good dude.
Great dude. And Carlos I love too.
Yeah.
Their drummer is just
Absolutely.
awesome.
We had a nice visit in, we both played together at that festival in San Juan with Raven in Puerto Rico. And just, man, how far things have come, huh? Just, And he's been around the world a few times and whatever. He goes, yeah, this is the last show I'm doing with this lineup. He says, I don't know what's going to happen. This may be our last show ever. And, of course, he put another lineup together. And
see, but that's the defining moment, dude.
Right.
He reached that point to where he was like, let's see what happens. I'm just going to do this.
In addition, at the same time, knowing that was on the offing, like, okay, if this is all over, he decided to go back to school. and get his degree.
Dude, he's getting like a history degree.
I got nothing but respect for the guy.
That's great.
And that's what it's all about, guys. Do it. Okay, anyway.
Yeah, just go out and do it. That really is the truth, man. So let's talk about the Callous and Fuhrer record, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
So it was the first record that you kind of did
with a lineup.
Mm-hmm. So how was it different, I guess, recording it? When it recording wise, what much different was this record as opposed to the first one for you personally? Because now this is your baby now.
Right.
It's not. It's literally your band.
Right.
You started
and now here's something
from the ground up.
So, well, we signed with OSM Records. They reissued the first one with some live tracks. And then we were working on this album. The biggest difference for me was the fact that the first album was done with a drum machine.
Okay.
So I don't know if people know that I didn't actually play drums. I say I programmed the drums, but people think I played the drums. No, I can't do that. This one was done with the drummer, so obviously multi-track recording, and it's a whole different animal. I think we put way too much into it, and I think what happened. I love that album. There are some iconic songs. I think that album is our Sad Wings of Destiny, if that makes sense. Meaning that the die was cast, where we were going was cast, but also the items that weren't going to work were also there.
Now this is the album that I remember we were talking off the air, maybe the first or second time you came on Metallifornia or Metal Mayhem with Benny.
Okay.
And you go, you hear this part in this song where the guitar player turned off his distortion, and he's like, that makes me cringe. I'm like, but to me that was odd. Like that was a cool dynamic in the album. Was that one part?
Yeah, I know. And see, that's what people ultimately heard. It's not what we heard or I should say what I heard in my head. In fact, the producer, Chris Trent, one of the sweetest dudes I've ever met in my life, he was so bothered by it. He actually, and by the way, I should say this, it is available online now. We just, we did Chris Trent did a remix of that album.
Wow, really? I want to get that one too. Now I got the original and then
but
the
it's
other
not.
one.
There's no copies of it anywhere. It's just you can hear it online because Chris was so bothered by it. He goes, "I'm going to fix all that stuff." He says, "I'm going to change the guitar tracks. I'm going to change the drum triggers, and all of that." So what you're hearing is the album as it sounds like every other Anger's Art album. This one sounded different. Because what you had is everybody, okay, I'm in a band now, and let's try this. It was a flower pot, as opposed to an explosion.
Because those seeds were already planted with
right.
Oh my gosh, I'm forgetting the band right now, but it's not Dreams, Pagan War Machine.
Right, exactly. And it was, I want to stay on that aggressive, but okay, I know what it's like to be told you can't do this, so let's let everybody have their piece. That's why there's 13 or 14 songs on that album.
But you have to do what's best for the project.
You do, and
what makes sense for the project. Yeah, you can do whatever you want, but let's focus on like the bigger picture for the song itself.
But there was also an importance because we needed to know, okay, what were people going to respond to? People responded to what was on the first Anger's Art record. They didn't really. There's a couple of people that responded to the progressive more thing like that, but the ratio is like 8-1, so to speak. There was much more of a response towards what the band was supposed to be. So as we were getting ready to do the Disfigure record, which came after this, we'd done some.
And what was your deal for the OSM?
1+1.
Oh, 2 albums. So
2 albums.
Okay.
1+1, and everything after that was on a handshake.
Okay.
And that's pretty much how things have gone ever since then. So we, yes. We were getting ready to do the Disfigure record. We had a couple of personnel changes. Mars left, and Javier was replaced. And we started getting ready to do the Disfigure album. But in the process of those personnel changes, that's when Angelo came in. He came in on the Callous and Fuhrer cycle. And he and I were, okay, this has got to stay thrash. And William and Dave Chedrick, who was playing drums at the time, were going more towards the progressive. Nothing wrong with it. But we were butting heads. It was to the point where the band is arguing, we're butting heads, this is not good. So everything we were putting together was not doing well. God dang it. Okay, I got to turn my phone
You're
over.
good, man. Don't even worry about
I
it,
know,
dude.
but people, I'm in text storms all the time. Let's just put it that way. So we're putting together the album, and we're not doing anything creative, and it all exploded at one point in time. It's like, okay, fine, fuck this. Everybody's got to go. William left, and then Dave quit shortly thereafter. So I'm thinking, well, fuck, I'm doing this Abattoir reunion. This is in 2009. I'm doing this Abattoir reunion. I said, who knows? Maybe Anger's Art's done. And Angelo, to his credit, said, no. He says, we've got a bunch of good songs. He says, now those guys are not involved. We can do the songs the way we want them. So let's just find some people to play them. So I'm doing the Abattoir tour. Rob Alanis is playing drums on the Abattoir tour. I say, hey, Rob, would you be interested in doing the Anger is Art record? I had no idea that he was going to stick around. I figured he was just going to do the record. And then Dan Oliverio, of course, towards as we were going forward, because Tim Thomas played on the tour,
right.
And then Dan showed up and did a couple of special guest spots. And he showed up. I walked into a rehearsal one time, and there's Dan playing guitar and singing lead vocal. And there it is again, right? So it's like, it's the obvious thing that here's the guy, and obviously there's the history and blah, blah, blah. So that's where that lineup came together.
And it makes a lot of sense, dude. It really does.
That album, and I hate to draw comparisons, but that was our Rain and Blood.
Okay.
Because it was so freaking focused.
It's also the third album, which...
imagine that. Kind of like how Callous was Sad Wings, and that was our second. But, so there we go. So we're looking at, we did the Disfigure record, and pretty much the rest has been history. Then
now, how long did you actually know Rob and Angelo for back in the day? Did you
met Angelo. We met, just through passing acquaintances. I think we actually finally met in 2007. I'm guessing.
Okay.
But
because I thought you knew him forever.
Well, I mean, we did. I knew him back when he was playing with what the hell were they called, Reverend, and
okay.
But only hey, that's Angelo. He was hanging around with the Metal Blade crowd at that point in time too, because everybody was hanging around with Metal Blade. So we knew each other, but we didn't know each other. If that makes sense.
Gotcha. And then Rob,
I actually knew because he was Danny Anaya's drum tech.
Okay.
So he was starting to work with the band in Abattoir right when I was going out. And it's funny because when Rob and I...
You're talking Danny from
MX Machine.
MX Machine.
There's another tie.
Big rest
it's
in peace, dude.
It's a big cesspool, I'm telling you what. Yeah. So the funny thing is as Rob was coming in, this is what kind of a prick Mel was. Mel's taking me aside, like he's trying to shatter your confidence and say, this is why we need to make a singer change. Hey, Rob, Danny's drummer, he thinks you're a terrible singer. He doesn't like you. He thinks we should get rid of you too. Shit like that. So anyway, I've always had my guard up around Rob. I see Rob play, say, hey, what's going on now? I don't want to talk to this guy. I don't want to talk to this guy. Why? Well, Mel says that he's me like a jackass believe in Mel.
Right.
So it turns out that when we start working together on this tour, Rob is the sweetest individual you'll ever meet in your life. And it's like, okay, I judged a book by its cover, but it was based on what I was told. And I've admitted this to him several times. I said,
I can't wait to hear that story when he comes
in. Yeah. He had no idea because the first thing he does, he sits down, he printed out all the lyrics for me for the Abattoir material as we're getting ready for this tour. He goes, here, I thought you might need these. And I said, oh, these songs are in my memory. Don't worry about that. I said, but thank you for doing that. He goes, I got to ask you a question. What's that? He says, why did you quit the band? Quit? Rob, I was fired. I was fired. They had Mike Towers in the band already. I was bounced. I was in the way. I said, they wanted me out, and he goes, you're kidding. And everybody to this day, why did you quit? Why did you quit? I didn't quit. I was fired.
For the record.
I was fucking fired. Mark Carr was the only person that will ever admit it. Thank you, Mark.
Dude, you're hearing it first here.
Well, I mean, they've heard it several times, but it never lands.
On any interview.
No, I've said this several times on interviews, but it doesn't land with people. They don't get it.
Well, he didn't quit. He was fucking fired.
I was canned, man. I was out of my ass.
And then he did much better things, trust me.
Well, we'll see. Anyway, so
it's already happened.
So that's where and I had known Dan, of course, since that time he walked into the rehearsal room with Prisoner.
Right. That's why I didn't bring him into the picture.
Exactly.
That's
so there's all that history. It goes back years and years and years.
And now, so Angelo obviously was losing interest, and then went to Heretics shortly after the Disfigured record. And he was in the band a long time.
He was with us for 3 or 4 years. But I think the big thing for him was we started doing the Bitch thing at that same point in time, because I was in the Bitch reunion for a bit there. And
how did you get that gig?
I've known them since forever, since back in the early Bloodlust days. And when they put the band back together, Betsy asked me, she goes, "Do you want to play bass for us?" I said, "Yeah, sure, absolutely." And shortly after that, started doing it. She got a lineup together. And we did a few shows. They were really cool. But the drummer, Robbie, developed leukemia and passed away. Robbie Settles. What a sweet, sweet guy. And that was tough, because that's, okay, this is pretty much the end of it, but at least we got to play a few shows and da-da-da-da. So Betsy calls me and she goes, "Hey, they're going to have a memorial jam night for Robbie. Everybody that ever knew him and a bunch of the Bitch members and whatever. Do you want to come down and be part of it?" Sure. So we show up and we go aside. She takes me aside. She goes, "You know what?" She goes, "We booked the Keep It True show. Robbie booked it because now he's dead." I said, "I don't know what to do with that." And I said, I said, don't hang up on it yet. I said, don't tell them it's canceled yet. I said, let's see what happens. See if we can find somebody that wants
there
to play
goes.
it.
Let's see what happens, right? There goes
Right?
that mentality.
The see what happens is always the best thing. Never burn your bridges. So anyway, I go back and Rob was supposed to go with me to this thing, and he didn't. So the next time we get together to rehearse, he goes, how was the jam night? I said, no, it was interesting. We played this, we played that. A bunch of people showed up, blah, blah, blah. He goes, any word with Betsy or anything? What did she have to say? How was her mood? And I said, well, she mentioned that the Keep It True Festival was booked, but, she doesn't know what to do for a band. And Rob says, shit, I'll play drums. He goes, I know those songs already. So there goes that, and then the light bulb goes off. It's like, okay, so
it's pretty much bitch at that point. It's pretty much Anger's Art,
right with
plus
Betsy fronting, which it was for a while there. So I went back to her and I said, look, we can do this. I said, we will give you an honest representation of the first three records: Damnation Alley,
Bitches
Be My
Back.
Slave, and The Bitch Is Back. We'll give you an accurate representation of when you guys were much more metal than when you went more glam. I said, but it will be that because that's what the European crowd's looking for. So we did that, booked a tour, and turns out, hey, the opening band should be Anger's Art because you get two bands for the price of one. That's how we ended up getting one of our European tours.
Fuck yeah, dude.
And did that, and that was a lot of fun. Now, when we came back from that, here's where the chinks in the armor started happening with Angelo. Angelo takes me aside and he goes, he says, we'd be a lot more famous if we played with Bitch and shelved Anger's Art. And I said, oh,
yeah,
well,
but,
there's that.
It's not about being. It's not about being famous at that point, right?
I said,
for
but
you?
I can't write music like that. I said, that's not my wheelhouse. I can play it, but I can't write it. He goes, well, there'd be less work to do, and there'd be more popularity, and more people would show up. I said, but that's not why I do this. I said, could you write those songs? I said, I can't write like that. I think I've written a song that might sound something close to Bitch, and even then I'm force feeding it. But so it's like, we could, and then even during that Abattoir tour, he goes, you guys would be more famous if you just did that. It's like, I don't want to do that, man. It's just, the calling is this. If you don't want to be a part of it, I can understand that. But I don't want to change direction. So anyway, that's kind of it. And then the Heretic thing. And I think he started realizing that it's going to be a harder slog pushing a band like Anger's Art than it would be for one of the legacy bands, which that's absolute. That's definitely true. I mean, you can get a nice big fat paycheck doing those shows, whereas here you're going to have to work, but you're doing what you create now.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't detriment what you're doing now, creatively wise, just to make a paycheck. But that's just me.
Yeah, and that's
some people
fine.
are not like me, and I get that. So
right, and I know. I mean, Angelo, for his work schedule at the time and everything,
I love Angelo.
Oh, he is a great
blood
dude. He is a great son of a bitch, and I've always called him an honorary member. Just because of what he did. If it was not for him, we never would have done the Disfigure album. It's that simple.
Now,
so
where was the Disfigured record recorded?
John Haddad at Trench Studios.
This is the first time you guys using John.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it went very, very, very fast. It was just an incredibly. I just recently came across the rough tracks, meaning the basic tracks, no vocals, no overdubs, and Jesus, the band was on fire. It was really, really good. So we did that, and then we toured behind that. That's when we did the Bitch tour, and there was some other things that happened. There was a European tour that was sabotaged by one Mel Sanchez.
Like I said, that constant variable creeps up again, dude.
And it's just like, why is this guy? But see, the thing was, he knows at this point that I'm untouchable. He can't fuck with me, so he starts screwing with Dan.
Well, that's because you've created a fucking empire for
wall.
yourself, dude. Well, musically, you don't have to do Abattoir. That's
Right.
the thing. You have.
Right. It's a great place to visit, but you don't want to live there. I mean, I'll go back and do a show any day of the week, but it's like I can't sit here. We can't write because I'm not in that place anymore. I can't write that music. And that was proven by that comeback record that never came out. So he starts screwing with Dan, and here's what happened. So we had a tour booked in Europe. We were going to go do this thing. We were going to play with a band called Power Stroke. Now, Power Stroke is their main guy, or the guy, I shouldn't say main guy, but the guy we deal with is a guy named Martin Garrits. I believe I'm pronouncing your name right. Sorry. And they're based in Belgium, right on the Holland border. And we were going to do, I think it was 6-7 dates with them and a couple of festival slots. And it was all set and ready to go. Mel got wind of that because he heard about that. So we need to do an Evil Dead tour. So Evil Dead suddenly is going to Europe. And they're going to get a lot more money. So Rob tells me, he says, look, man, he says, what am I supposed to do here? I said, dude, you got to go after the money. That's a paycheck. And they were going to get serious bucks to go do this. And I think they went out, that's the one they went out and do with Possessed. So what are you going to do, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, well, okay. I said, look, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to reach out to Mars, see if Mars wants to do the tour. And we'll just continue to do the tour because it's already booked, whatever. So
I love Mars Castro too.
Mars, I love that guy. Another honorary member, right?
He always rules, dude.
We're
rules.
playing a show with his new band, which is his brother. Yeah, on July 3rd.
His new old band.
It was his brother's old band. So anyway, I get this message out of the blue one day, or a phone call from Juan Garcia. And he goes, hey, dude, sorry about your tour. Sorry it all crashed on you. I said, what are you talking about? I said, our tour is still on. He goes, what do you mean? I said, oh, we got Mars is going to sub in and do this tour. He had just agreed to do it. Mars is going to sub in and do the tour. And I said, we're still going to go do all of our dates. Happened to coincide at the same time as the Evil Dead tour. This is when Mel got a hold of it. And Mel says, we need to get Power Stroke on our tour. We need to get Power Stroke. What do you think happened?
They got Power Stroke.
And now Power Stroke was going to give us our backline.
Oh, fuck.
There goes the backline. Backline is gone. Good job, Mel. So that's the first time I ever had to cancel the tour. That's one of the things that disillusioned Angelo, because he had never been involved in the abattoir politics, and then suddenly he was. He's like, "Fuck this! I don't want to be a part of this."
Who would? You don't even want to be a part of that.
Here's the thing.
Why would you, dude?
Abattoir did a show last year. I'm jumping way ahead. We did a show last year at Spring Bash in Milwaukee, and it was the first time, by the grace of God, and that's the only way this happened, that everybody finally said, screw it. Let's just not do this with Mel at all. That's when Eric became the bass player for Abattoir.
Dude, like I said, he's one of the new veterans like myself that have been doing it a long time in this community.
The hardest thing about getting Eric in the band is we lost the best interviewer we had. Now, you can't interview yourself.
That's why you got me now,
of course.
Dude. So there you go.
Anyway, where are we? We're somewhere.
So what made it different with the new reunion with Eric as opposed to Mel? Like, just the atmosphere was just so much cleaner.
Everybody got along. We laughed. We joked. We went to restaurants. We hung out with the other bands.
You didn't
smiled.
smear shit on people's drum sets, right?
That wasn't Abattoir, but no, we didn't do anything like that. It was just a very pleasant experience. Everybody was actually sad when it was over, as opposed to most Abattoir tours. Thank God that's done. I have to see those guys in a while.
How sad, dude. Why?
What are you going to do?
I mean, I understand what you know, it's your place of work. You work with people that like you.
You're not going to get along with everybody, and you got to find.
But it's nice
ways.
to have that where it's like, fuck, now it's over.
Right.
That sucks.
And that's terrible.
Yeah.
That's a terrible, terrible feeling.
So let's. We're almost finished. I can't believe we're almost finished with this. So.
And then we're going to start talking.
I know. Then we're going to start talking, dude. Walk me through the Hubris Inc. record and who actually played on it.
Okay. Well, Angelo had given his notice.
Mm-hmm.
We were starting to put songs together, and he was not necessarily interested. I think he had lost. He was kind of losing his fire.
Right. He wanted something different, and he joined Heretic had asked, and that's been well documented.
Very
obviously.
well documented, and good for him. That's fantastic. But as soon as he left, it's like, you know what, guys? So we've got these songs together. He says the only one that didn't care for them was Angelo. He said, why don't we just go in and let's start recording? I'll play the bass tracks. So I actually did, and later on we'll find a bass player. Now, there was one point in time prior to this where Angelo had actually left the band. Nobody knew.
And now, what, if you don't mind me asking too about the equipment, what bass do you generally use for your records?
I played my Gibson RD Artist, that 78. That thing is the greatest studio tool I've ever had in my life.
That's fucking awesome.
I love that thing.
What
year?
Back. What year?
1978.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That's why it sounds
vintage gear.
That's probably why it sounds so good, you know?
So yeah, we did that, and that went really quick. And as we were doing that record, that's when we said, okay, so who do we want? Angelo had actually left prior, but then he came back. He was just, oh, I'm sorry, guys. I said, I'm just, whatever. Don't know what I want to do. He said, but I don't want to quit the band, whatever. So in the meantime, we had already done all of our homework and everything like that, and we had already pretty much come to the conclusion that we wanted to have Henry De La Cruz play bass.
Uh-huh.
So anyway, then that goes away. Angelo comes back. We do the bitch tour, Europe, everything's great. And then he loses his interest once again and goes over to Heretic. So it's like, okay, we're going to record this record, and then we're going to look. It's probably most likely going to be,
No, we're good.
Okay. Well, it's most likely going to end up being Henry, but the bass tracks will already be done. And that's what we did. And then Henry came in. The funny thing is, and I should go backtrack on this, when Javier left in 2007, and that's when Angelo came in, 2007. Yes, 2007. That is when we first considered, hey, should we get Eric? Because we had met him. We were already doing interviews with him. So I sent a message to him. I think I sent him an email. Hey, dude, what's going on? What do you got going on? He goes, I'm just getting ready to graduate high school. So I'm going to be real busy this year. And it was just off the cuff. Okay, I got to remember his age, and I got to remember what's going on. And so this isn't the time. But we had already had an eye on him. It's like, fuck, will his parents let him travel? We were going to go do some festivals and stuff like that. So Angelo comes in, and then at the time we were bringing Henry in, Eric had already sent out a feeler. He goes, hey, man, he goes, if you guys are looking for a bass player, so I'd love to have a shot at that. And he was not out of school yet. He hadn't gotten his degree from Cal State Long Beach. And it was like, no, there is no way I'm going to let this guy, because we'll dominate his time. We'll screw up his finals. It's like, dude, you need to get your education. And we had already had the agreement with Henry at that point in time. Mm-hmm. So Henry's in for a year and a half. Eric graduates, gets his degree and all of that, and starts going into work. And then Henry, out of the blue one day, we got all these tour dates booked. We're going to go do this. We're going to go do that. We're going to go. And he says, hey, guys, I don't want to be in a band. What? And so in the meantime, there was a magazine. I forget what it was called, but they did a big article on us, and a gatefold pictured him as the centerfold of the magazine, Henry, right? And I'm thinking, dude, I said, you know how much is put into you being the guy right now? I said, and you're just pretty much just for no reason, for no, hey man, work's getting busy. I'm not healthy. My wife is pregnant. This, that, the other thing. It's just, I don't want to do it anymore. I said, why did you want to do it in the first place? And it was that whole thing of, he likes to play in bands. He likes the party atmosphere. He likes to rock.
He's not the serious
But when it comes to serious work, and it's like we got to do this. This has got to be in place before that, and that's, how it goes.
Right.
Everything in your original band is life or death. Sad but true. And it was too much for me. He just said, I don't want to go. I think he didn't want to go. One of the first shows we were going to do was in Phoenix, Arizona, in the middle of summer, like a July or August date. He goes, I don't like it when it's hot. Dude. Oh, okay, that's a weak fucking excuse. It's 110 in Phoenix. It's 105 in Los Angeles.
I mean, I understand it's a different kind of heat, but at the same time, man,
it's like, no, that was
either shit or get off the pot.
Right. So we're thinking, well, what do we do? And in the meantime, I talked to Rob about it. I forget where Dan was. Dan was busy working. And he's like, dude, he says, can you guys handle this? He says, I've got to take care of some other stuff. He was moving. That's what it was. He was moving from one house to another. So I talked to Rob. I said, hey, Rob, do you think it's time we talk to Eric? I said, he's out of school. He's got his degree. I said, he's got time now. And I said, I don't think his band is working anymore. So I
forgot what band he was in before.
He was in, it was Abstract Prayer.
Yes.
It was Abstract Prayer, and they weren't really getting off the ground. He showed me the demos. We were hanging out and stuff like that, and it was really good, but it's like it wasn't getting off the ground. And so I just shot him a message to say, dude, I said, what do you got on your plate for the next couple of months? He goes, it's work, that, the other thing. I said, why? What do you have in mind? I said, okay. I said, here's what's going on. And I explained to him. And the following day, or maybe the day after that, he shows up at the rehearsal room knowing all the songs. And we played as a 3-piece because Dan was not available. And we said, dude, we're going to audition this guy. And audition, stupid thing to say, because we're gonna give him his minutes, and it's gonna be the guy. He came in, and not only did he play all the songs right, he did all the background vocals right, including not being afraid to step up and do lead vocals. It's like, oh, this is the cat, and he was the guy all the time. I've got pictures of when we played with Overkill, Eric in the front row. It's like he was always there. It's like it was nothing new to him. So. And that's pretty much where we are now, other than the couple of records we did.
Well, but then you did. Who did you do the Hubris record with?
We did Hubris with John Haddad.
Okay, so you did it with at Trent Studios.
At Trent again, yeah.
The Disfigure record and the
correct. Oh, this will be fun.
And the Hubris album.
Yeah. Shortly after Hubris comes out, Ron Sandoval reaches out to me and he goes, "Hey, dude," he says, "let's get together. We'll go out to lunch. We'll do whatever. Hang out." He says, "I want to talk to you about your record." So I give him, he says, "bring me a copy." So I bring him a copy.
Right.
And he says, we're driving around in his truck and he's listening to it. He goes, "I bet you didn't like this spot right here." Yeah, he's right. He says, I would have taken this spot and I would have done this here. He says, "I don't understand why it's EQ'd like this, that." Fuck, he's right. And he's like, this, that, the other thing. He says, "I don't understand why you did this. Why'd you do the song orders like this? You should have done it like this." And like, he's right. And it's like, okay, so he did the right thing of selling himself, but also understanding what it was all about. And he goes, look, man, he goes, I want to do your next record. He goes, I know it's a couple of years away. He says, but what I want to do, he says, I want to bring you guys in. Let's just record a song. Let's have a getting to know you recording session. So we recorded the song Race for the War.
Okay.
Which is on Calvis and Fury. I think you heard that version of it, didn't you, with Eric on it?
Mm-hmm.
So we did that just as, let's see how we work together. We selected that song because it's got a bunch of difficult edits to do. I don't know how we pulled it off on the live record, but we did. But it has a bunch of different difficult edits to do. And let's see how Ron is on the board making everything work. He made that song sound fucking incredible. It's like, okay, we're going to do this. And then when it became time for Ad Mortem, we were working with Ron Sandoval.
Fuck yeah, dude. And you were working with Eric on that record
yes.
too. Now, what did he bring more to the table than the previous 4 records?
Music and lyrics. Music and lyrics. He writes a lot of lyrics, but he also writes music. And Dan, of course, writes music. Rob writes music. But Eric writes a lot of music. He writes complete songs. And it's just like, holy crap. And it's like, here, I think this will fit. I think if we do this like this, it captures this mood from this album and that song there. And you know how he is. You've sat and talked with him. He overthinks everything.
I would love to get his story.
Bring him in. Holy crap, bring him in.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, and he 99.99999% of the times, he's right. And the only 0.00001 is only because, I oversaw that. I should have done it like this, and then he fixes it himself. He's always right. Greatest guys you could possibly work with.
And you liked working with Ron so much that you've worked on him pretty much ever since.
And we're in pre-production now for the next record.
And so tell me about the Fast as Fuck release. So I know we kind of know why you did a live record. Mm-hmm. There's obviously interviews of you interviewing yourselves and explaining why you did the live record.
We can go in depth now because a lot more realities come out now.
But why isn't it on vinyl? Why is it this live record only on CD and not vinyl? Because you're old school, man. Those Priest records, what did you listen to them on? It wasn't on a CD.
Well, CDs didn't exist.
It was on vinyl.
There's also that. I listened to them on reel-to-reel, if I'm being honest with you, but that's a different story.
Okay, well, I'm just saying, like, why not? Because a live record, to me, should be on vinyl. It's the most purest form that you could hear a live record on.
We did the Hubris, the picture disc on vinyl.
Right.
The Hubris Incorporated album in 2011. The market for vinyl wasn't there at the time. So we, the label, OSM, when we were with OSM Records, we got to talk about Malevolence Records, too.
Yeah.
But OSM Records... I think they printed these things, and then we realized how difficult they were to transport and how difficult they were to sell.
Well, because they're picture discs.
Well, no, it's vinyl. And here's the problem we have with vinyl. Have you done vinyl yet?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So have you done a 12-inch?
Yeah. Our Essence of Time Matches No Flesh record, I put it out last year.
I wasn't aware that it's on vinyl.
Yeah, it's on vinyl. It's sold quite a number of copies, which is great. Not as much as I would want to, but I've also been told that it's a slow sell, but it's worth it. So I'm like, okay, cool. Like I'll try it once.
These ones became an extremely slow sell, and the biggest problem is we do a lot of you do a lot of road dates as well. How do you keep those things in pristine shape when you're picking up your merch boxes and you got to get everything in the room and whatever, and they get beat? Then you've got damaged stock that you can't sell. That's one problem.
You can also leave them at like the house and just say, hey, if you want the vinyl, like.
Right. Well, we're going to get to that. The other side is then people, hey, man, I want to get a copy of your vinyl. Hey, that's great. Yeah, we sell it, whatever. Hey, can you hold it here at the table? Fuck. So suddenly your merch table becomes a library or a coat check, if you will. And it became a pain in the ass. We figured, okay, we'll put them in the mail. $76 to send vinyl to Europe.
Yeah.
And that's not even counting the cost of the vinyl on top of it. Then you add the cost of the vinyl on top of it. You're looking at a $100 record. And how...
It's hard to do it yourself, I get it, but at the same time, it's worth it to do it.
So how limited of a run do you do? That's the question. I mean, you got to look at everything as an investment. Yeah, you have vinyl we've got vinyl. That's great. We can say we have vinyl. But at the end of the day, I've got a lot of dead stock sitting there that we can't move because it costs too much money to sell. It costs more money to sell than it does to leave it sitting on the shelf.
I get it.
Whereas the Hubris album, the CD, bam, they still fly off the shelf.
With distribution, though, you could do it. Like with like proper distribution, you're signed to like a label and stuff. You can always go to the label and say, hey, this is what we want to do. How can we do it?
Well, it depends
smart,
on the label.
Like, Depends, how can we do this, the smart way?
Right. It depends on the label. Like when we did that was when we were still with Old School Metal Records, and Patrick did that. Let's just say I had a rather frank conversation. He goes, fuck that, I ain't doing that anymore. And because
I get it though. I mean,
I get it too, because you do an investment, the idea, hey, this is going to be something that's a collector's. Yeah, it's a collector's item. But look, I haven't moved one in probably, well, no, let's see. I moved 3 of them at the last show, which is more than we moved in a while. But it took until today for another one to move. And vinyl is it's a tough sell because you got to keep it. If it gets warm, it's going to warp. I saw you checking it when you pulled it out. Did it warp? And that's a fear factor. They can get damaged so easy. So then we move over. Now we're with Malevolence Records. And Nathan says, dude, he says, I don't care how hard you push me. He says, we're not doing vinyl. No, I'm not putting that kind of money into it.
That's what I don't like about vinyl. That's the one thing that I can't stand on, like putting your music onto a certain format. Why does it have to cost $2,000 to get?
Because that's what it costs. That's just the way it is. And where you can burn, nobody should. Well, you can burn CDs here at your house. You can burn them right there on your laptop, right?
Right.
You can't burn vinyl at your house because nobody has a record press.
Well, but that's the thing. Why not make more record presses then? Because they think vinyl's a fad right now and it's going to go away. Mm-hmm. But vinyl's been selling more and more each year, so it could get cheaper to press it in due time. And CDs could be super expensive.
Right, and it's funny to see CDs start costing money now after they went down to $1 and $2, in the cut corner section of the record store.
CDs are really cheap now.
They are.
That's why you buy CDs too. So
sure,
I still have tons of CDs.
Now,
but the thing is you got to get them now before they start going to like $20 for a fucking CD.
Right, exactly. And what I end up doing now, I'm like anybody else. I never had an iPod. I put everything on thumb drives. And I've got a thumb drive adapter in my car, or a USB port in my car. So I just pop those in. I've got 45, 50 albums sitting there, and including I've got my Anger is Art thumb drive that has all the Anger records, including a bunch of demos and shit.
You have to have them, man.
You have to, but that's just the thing. It's like, who knows where the market's going to turn next? Personally, I would love to sell everything digitally.
That would be sick, dude.
And the problem with that, people say, well, it's impersonal. On one hand, it's impersonal. On the other hand, I don't have to cart these things around. Because when you get your bags weighed at the airport,
yeah,
right? And this is over 50 pounds. That's going to cost you an extra $100. And every time you change flights and whatever, you're like, did it get damaged? How much does it weigh? There's too much liability. If there is nothing worse than getting all the way back to, and it happened to us the first time we went back to Milwaukee, half of our CD stock got damaged. Well, that's dead stock. I might as well just throw it away or give it away. And if you give it away at the show because they're damaged because you don't want to pay to fly it back, then you're not selling anything. Then you've lost twice as much stock. People don't think about this shit.
It's true, man.
When you become your own record company, a band doing things independently, there's a lot more to think about. Yes, it's cool to have vinyl. Everybody loves vinyl, but and I get it. There's collectors. I see friends of mine back in the Midwest that are out. Hey, look what I found on vinyl, and I paid $80 for this.
Yeah, I can't do that.
No,
you
it's
got a
just
budget.
Great for you, fantastic. I appreciate your passion. I can't do that, nor can I gouge people. I want you to hear the music and enjoy it. I want the music to be up here, not in a piece of vinyl here.
Yeah, I get it. To me, it's an experience, though.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
I treat my music as an experience rather than a convenience.
Agreed.
So, the digital thing is a convenience. It's great.
Very.
I use digital. I use CDs, but the vinyl to me is my main source of how I listen to music.
Yeah.
Like, I will not listen to music unless I do not have if I don't have a physical copy.
Wow. Okay.
Like, I have to either have it on vinyl or CD, and then I'll give it a listen.
Right. And you see, those of us that actually play in bands and sell records, we're all cognizant of this stuff. But the average person, I need a burned copy of that. I need to download that. I need to rip that.
And that's great for you, for those good people. But I'm not one of those people.
Yeah, but you're not. But there's more of them.
Of course.
And
you
this
have
is
to
what
cater
sucks.
to them. Yeah.
I've used this analogy so many times. It's to try and make them understand. Imagine you had a restaurant.
Okay.
Right? And you've got these great entrees. People love your food. Everybody shows up. They eat your food, and then they don't pay.
Right.
Well, you got all that staff around there. You got to pay. You got to clean the tables. You had to buy the food. You had to prep the food.
How about the electricity and this?
All
and
of that. Everything that has to do with running a business. In the meantime, somebody ate for free and they're gone. It's sooner or later there's got to be something. I understand.
Digital just scares the shit out of me though, because okay, good point. iTunes, right? Like
now iTunes is supposedly going away.
I was freaking out because I'm like, oh crap, all my music is digital, and I have this and this. That's one downfall because of digital. That thing can go away in a split of a second.
I saw in an article that they're talking about iTunes is going away.
It is.
Okay.
No. But
bye-bye.
but all your all the digital stuff. My point is it can go away in the blink of an eye. And It's just gone. Yeah. That's why having physical media for me, I need to have this tangible aspect because I need to feel like I can never lose this.
I agree with you there, 100%.
So, and I always just wanted to be on vinyl because
and now you did it.
And now I did it myself. But the point is I'm glad I did it. I don't regret not doing it. I just have a lot of dead stock. So if you're interested in some Madras vinyl, hit me up, dude, because I'd love to get you a copy. I want you guys to hear it.
I'd love to have one.
I'll get you. Well, awesome. I'll get you one after the broadcast here. But the thing is that's where I was going with this. I'm really scared to not have music.
Yeah, it makes sense.
My music. So have to have the physical copy for me. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, I hope this is not an embarrassing question, but I'll throw it at you.
Throw it at me. Let's do it.
Have you always lived here at home?
Yes.
Okay, so you haven't.
Yeah, I live with my parents, folks.
No. And that's not to. Shit. I wish I could. That'd be fantastic. When you move, and you've got boxes.
That's what I'm scared of.
Boxes and boxes of vinyl and CDs and cassette tapes and VHS tapes, which I still have. All of that. It's like you start looking at this, going, I haven't looked at this in 20, 25 years. How bad do I need this? True. And then you move from one place to another to another to another.
Then you start losing things, and you know.
It's tough. I have
but I will never get rid of my vinyl collection. I will always have that.
I get these European guys. One guy in particular who I'm not a big fan of, who was a writer for a magazine in France.
Okay.
I'll just leave it at that. And most everybody from my genre knows who I might be talking about. He, in the middle of an interview, actually asked a question. He says, "By the way, I've got to ask, do you have an unmixed copy of Abattoir such and such?" I said, "No. I don't. I'm sorry." I said, "It's funny that you ask." I said, "I haven't seen a copy of that since 1984. And, "What the fuck? I can't believe you don't have a copy of your own thing. Who in the fuck are you? I needed a copy and you don't have a copy." Really?
Why an unmixed, though? That doesn't make any sense.
Because evidently there's some article someplace in some fanzines, and I listened to an unmixed copy of this demo and it sounded like this, and so this guy thinks he's entitled to it because somebody heard it in 1984. Okay. It's like, dude, really? I mean, there were times when I literally was living in the backseat of my car. I didn't give a fuck about that demo at all. You know?
Well, that's because you're looking at what's in front of you, dude.
Right.
In that moment in time, it's like, no, I need to survive. I can't.
Until you've actually been at that point where it's like, okay, I need to stop by a friend of mine's house when I think they might be eating dinner in the hopes that they'll set out a plate for me. Or whose house can I stop by and visit and hang out for about 2 hours or so just so I can use their bathroom? Or that kind of crap. I mean, I don't want to say it was homeless, but it was homeless. It really was.
That's why you know who your real friends are in those situations, too,
And at the same time as that was all going on, Abattoir was selling out the Roxy Theater.
How embarrassing.
It's the way it was.
I know, but just how embarrassing, like...
What do you do?
That you have to even tell that story. Like, how now you give some people, like...
But...
It's like, fuck, really?
But the other side is this. It's like, you're still doing this? Why would you do this? I can't stop. This is what falls out of me naturally. I completely lost my train of thought once again.
Dude.
But it's one of those things that that's what makes a man out of you. I remember same friends of mine. I got into the HVAC industry, and I did HVAC for 30 years.
Now, what is HVAC?
Heating, ventilation, and air conditioning.
Okay.
And started working for, well, I'm not going to name the name of the city, but a very large school district in a very large city in Los Angeles County.
Okay.
Shocker.
I wonder what that is.
Yeah, I know, exactly. So, and I did that, and I just recently promoted up a couple of years ago, and now I manage the warranty department for the entire school district.
Congratulations.
Which is awesome. Great, but I mean, it was one of these things that I need to learn a trade. And the guitar player in Tactics at the time, Danny Blaze, "Hey, man, I think I can get you a job over here at my shop." And that was one of those things that gets me to move out of San Diego. I had to go home and live with my folks to learn how to, lack of a better way to put it, learn how to wipe my ass and wipe my nose again. Because I was a basket case, drinking, smoking. All I did was rock and roll, man. Metal! Living in the back. I was one of those guys. I saw the error of my ways. I better learn how to do something.
I would love to know how to do a trade.
It's because at the end of the day, as broken down as I am now from having done it for 30 years, if I needed to go out and earn a living at it, I can. And, I don't want to do it. But
yeah, but you have that in your back pocket. It's like having a degree.
Right.
Like
and in the meantime, so I'm going out and I'm doing this work, right? And at the same time, all these people that I was playing in band, nah, dude, hang out and drink with us. We're going to get some Coke, brother. I don't do Coke, man.
Man, Coke is the one drug that's so rampant in our scene that I didn't know existed.
I don't know if it still is, but at that time in the 80s.
I've been offered it more times.
It's still, people still do it?
Yeah, I've been offered it more times than most of the other drugs.
Man, oh man.
Yeah, I can't ever find myself to do any of it.
It's just not my thing, and and that's one of the reasons I realized alcohol got in the way. And long about 1991, I said it's time to quit drinking, and just did. One day on a fluke, I poured out the beer I was drinking. Said, let's see how long I can go. It's 2019, but it wasn't doing me well.
You just need to be responsible with it, just like everything else. Because I do enjoy drinking.
Sure,
I just don't do it every day now.
Right.
So I pick when.
But you learned. You don't do it every day now. There's people that have never learned, and they're getting to be my age group.
Yeah, but I'm a vocalist.
Yeah,
I'm always freaked out of losing what
God.
my personality and my voice.
Scares the shit out of me. It does. That's one of the things. That's the biggest scary thing about going on tour. It's like if you can't hear yourself, how hard am I going to have to push?
What?
What happened?
You're good.
Okay. How hard am I going to have to push?
Move the camera a little bit.
Okay, there you go. How hard am I going to have to push tonight so I can hear myself? And what will my voice feel like tomorrow?
Yeah, what's the biggest piece of advice you can give a fellow touring musician? Maybe that's never toured before.
Don't be stupid, and you know what stupid is.
Because my rule is I put in rules in place for me personally. It's just a personal thing. I don't drink on tour.
Okay, good.
Because of the fact it's I gotta if you're fucked up and playing your instrument, you probably might do better than what I would be if I was fucked up and having to sing and play guitar at the same time. I need to be in that mindset where it's this is the greatest high that I can possibly have. Why ruin it with other substances? Why not just enjoy the moment for what that it is? Because it's going to be gone, and then I'm going to be okay, now, now let's go enjoy the rest of the moment kind of thing without being fucked up.
Exactly. Okay, so number one, you don't drink on tour. What now? What else?
Ooh. I get plenty of rest.
Have to.
Just because of the I just as a vocalist and as the front man, yes, my ego is huge, ladies and gentlemen. Don't give a fuck, but I need to make sure that you guys that I put on a show for you guys.
Yeah.
I need to make sure
give you what you paid for.
Exactly.
That's very true.
And then I always try and eat healthy, so I don't eat dairy on tour as well because dairy gets me bloated and it strains my vocal cords.
I agree with that.
So those are pretty much my three: plenty of sleep, no drinking, and not a lot of dairy. That's from that.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, that's these springs right here on.
I was trying to think. It's just
the microphone
like a fan is going.
Yeah, it can pick up.
Yeah, but there's that.
Am I missing anything though? Is there something? What are your 3 rules for tour?
3 rules. One of them: I don't drink. Don't do anything stupid. Get the rest. Don't do anything dumb. What I mean by that is somebody up as much as I just got done talking about playing basketball with Biff. Don't play basketball because what happens if you jam your finger?
Oh, okay.
Okay. Somebody has a skateboard, or you're gonna. I remember one time watching Carlos is in Evil Dead now. At the time, he was in Agent Steel. We played a show together, and he came down a loading ramp. He was on top of his cabinet on 4 wheels, hit something, and went tumbling. Right?
Oh no!
Didn't get hurt. But my first thought is, what the hell would have happened if he would have gotten hurt? Vince from Body Count, bass player. He did something on this past tour. I don't know if it's public knowledge or not, and if I'm revealing something, I don't intend to hurt anybody's feelings, but apparently he jumped off of his amp, broke both of his ankles.
Holy shit.
I don't know if that story, I'm going to preface this by saying I don't know if that story is true or not, but he had to finish the tour in excruciating pain.
Oof.
And including, I think, even sitting down at times. Wow. But it's something that, you probably could have done as a youngster, but doing stupid things like that could change everything.
But
you
not
could
even
go
as
home.
a youngster. I mean, you could be smart, have fun, and kick ass at the same time, dude.
Right. If it's cold out.
Learn from your guys' mistakes here.
Right. If it's cold out, don't go out in the cold. Right?
I always say pack for both extremes, too.
Oh,
man.
yeah.
That's a kind of a rule I have for myself. And always bring a pillow
Right.
Because I think
if somebody in your band needs to sleep in an ice box, I love air conditioning on, but if it's showtime, no. Rigo Amezcua, who used to play in drums and Agent Steel, he was playing in Tactics. He was in Tactics for a bit, and we were playing in Phoenix, and of course Phoenix is hot. And he turns the air conditioning on, and I just like having air conditioning. He had the thing dive bomb down to like 50 or something like that, so it was never going to shut off. And I wake up and I have no pipes the following day because it's freezing cold. I said, well, I was warm and cozy. Dude, you're the fucking drummer. He said, vocal cords are gone here, so we could cancel the show tonight and go home and not get paid. Things like that. You don't think about shit like that. Think about your fellow man. Don't start stupid arguments, even if you're pissed off at your bandmate, whatever.
Go for a walk.
Don't tug at the tent strings. Just don't do it, man.
I say work as a team too.
You have to. Expect the fact that everybody's going to stink, everybody's going to fart. It's going to be terrible. Someone's going to have bad breath or BO.
You're going to learn more about your bandmates and what you want. We get it.
Right.
We've all been there before.
Right. I've been on tour with girls in the band. It always starts as give them all the space they need, and after a bit, it's like, fuck, we got work to do. It's just, you change and you go. And some of the gals, I'm not going to mention their names, but man, they got some of them bigger gas problems than I've ever heard than most dudes.
Yeah. There you go, man.
But then again, that's not a misnomer. We all know that, right, ladies?
That's right. Well, Steve, I greatly appreciate you coming on the show, man.
Dude, we could go for hours still.
We need to do maybe a two-part of just like stories and stories and stories. Cause obviously this was the focus of this was about your career.
Did we get up to current? We did get up to current day. Yeah, we did. Wow.
We did 2 hours and 50 minutes right now.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm not. This is amazing. But I want to we'll bring you back on soon.
Sure.
Maybe we can get you and Rob on the same topic because I would love to get his story.
You know what? Let Rob, I'd love to do it with Rob because we've done interviews together. And we did one together with you and Andy that time.
Right.
I always feel when Rob's there, I feel like I talk over him. I feel like that with Eric as well. And I don't want to talk over anybody.
No problem.
Let them tell their
we'll
stories.
bring you on again and we'll do a two-parter of just literally stories that I think you guys would enjoy. So, Mr. Steve Gaines of Anger is Art, make sure to go check him out. Where can people find you real quick before we end this broadcast?
YouTube, Anger is Art. You can search Anger is Art YouTube. You can search Anger is Art. God damn it.
Are you in Bandcamp?
Bandcamp, thank you. I don't know why I couldn't think of that. I'm having brain farts. Of course, there's Facebook. I think we still have a MySpace page. Nobody's been to it.
I think Bandcamp is now the second greatest thing for bands, and MySpace was the first because he had that player. And
it's amazing how much money. I'm not going to say we're not getting.
Dude, Facebook could totally get on that though, man. They could totally put a player on the profile and
but that would be an outside source. I've got my theories about Facebook. I will say this, and I'm going to ask you this question before we go.
Okay.
And anybody who's in a band who's listening to this, have you noticed that on your band page, if you go hype, you have an event that you do from your band page. No one sees it. No one ever sees the fucking thing. But if you do it on your own personal page, everybody sees it.
Yeah, it's weird, dude.
But do you ever notice that whenever you put those things out on your band page, they always say for $5 or for $15?
But
fuck Mark Zuckerberg.
I know it's. But I've had to do it. It totally works.
And then they've got your credit card. And I've heard several stories about people getting charged for things on Facebook. Well, you never said to stop.
Oh.
I'm not going to give them the benefit. I'll do it. I'll do the work myself. But Bandcamp. I love Bandcamp because it's so easy. It's just so damn easy to use.
Dude, you can put all your merch there.
Yeah.
And they don't take a cut of the merch. What they do is they get all the digital. So they take a percentage of the digital, and then
they're getting paid for their service out of what we sell. If it doesn't sell, big deal.
Exactly.
It's a great thing.
That's why I love it.
Yeah.
Because there's no fucking what is it? I can't even think of the word right now. Risk. Yeah. There's no risk for see?
Exactly.
For the bands or whatever. But
Absolutely.
So make sure to go check out Mr. Steve Gaines.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
One last thing. Make sure you go to Malone's it's on the 12th, right?
Yeah, this Wednesday Madrost and Flotsam and Jetsam will be playing Malone's in Santa Ana.
Yes.
Next
go
Wednesday.
see it. You will not be dissatisfied.
Well, thank you, man. Yeah. If you ever want to see Madrost this year, I can't highly suggest enough that you guys go out to Wednesday's show because I would love to see all my friends there and
be there, guys. Come on, when are you going to play, Tanner? When are you going to play? This is your chance to make good on your question.
Yeah, and I get that question all the time.
We all do.
And
hey, we're playing right down the street from you.
This is it. So
Yeah.
Either take it or leave it. If you're not there, totally get it. But don't ever ask me, why? How come? When are you guys playing next? It's like, nope, we already played. You had your chance, so there you go. Anyway, Steve,
pleasure, man. Thank you so much,
very
sir.
much, sir. I'm out.
Out we go.
Episode 31 or 32. I can't remember at this point.
32.
Poppitt's Corner. I'm out, sir. Mr. Steve Gaines.
Night, guys.